Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rainbow Six Pro League. My name is Parker Intero Mackay, joined by Michael Kickstar Stockley, and we are going to kick off the North American Six Invitational playoffs today.
Well, at least the semifinals. And it's been an exciting run so far. We've gone through the quarters. We've managed to make it this far, all the way up into the crowning moment of these playoffs. And it's really exciting. We've had some major upsets so far, Intero.
Yeah, we just saw the conclusion of two of the matches. In the quarterfinals, we had two last night, and seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4. Flip side, Bird University, formerly Infamy, Rogue, and Looking for Org, formerly Most Wanted, all defeated in the quarterfinals, leaving us with just two Pro League teams left in Ronin and Arrow, which is the matchup you're going to see now, and two Challenger League teams in Reckless versus Vertical Gaming.
Right, you are. Let's take a look at the schedule for the entire week, though, because we have much more esports for you than North America that we have today. Sunday and Monday, though, is going to be NA. We have the semifinals, which we'll be seeing today, of course, and then the finals of the playoffs for North America, deciding who, in fact, will go to the Invitational tomorrow. Then we have Latin America on Tuesday and Wednesday in the same exact format. That's going to be a very exciting couple days as well. And then finally, Europe in Thursday and Friday. Now, the interesting thing about Europe is that all of the teams that qualify to go into the actual playoffs finals will get a spot at the Invitational, because 2 spots for Europe out of these qualifiers. So the main day is going to be Thursday for Europe, but Friday will still be a little bit of an ego boost for whoever manages to win.
So Patacalypsa versus Room Factory, the winner of that matchup, will get one of the spots, and then, of course, One Up Esport, formerly known as Mysterious Monkeys, versus Supremacy will get that. And then, of course, we have APAC as well on Saturday and Sunday. You've got the 4 teams there. Norarengo representing Japan, Mantis FPS representing Korea, Cryptic representing Southeast Asia, and then Mind Freak representing Australia, New Zealand. And what's going to happen with APAC is we're not going to be casting it. They're going to have their own regional event. All 4 of those sub-regions have one team that advanced, and then they will go and compete at a LAN event in Australia on Saturday, January 13th. It will be broadcast, to the best of my knowledge, on this Twitch channel, but will be casted by the Australian casters and the New Zealand casters and the other APAC casters, and not us. But it'll be pretty exciting, and we'll see if Mantis can go to a second LAN, because of course they were at the LAN finals in Brazil, and they'll be joining. We'll see which one joins Ainz, the Japanese team, which is going to be at the Invitational, since they won the APAC spot in the last season.
Right, you are. And let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket for North America, if we could. There's a lot of interesting things going on with the North American bracket. We talked about upsets. We talked about how, for example, Flipside and Rogue have already lost here. But let's take a look just on the first left-hand side of this best of 16. Flipside Tactics 2-0ing the Nomads. Risky Gaming, or 2-1ing, excusing, the Nomads. Risky Gaming getting 0-2'd by Ronin Esports. Era 2-1 over Not Yet Labeled. And then we saw over there Looking for Org with a 2-0 over 2K, pushing themselves, all of these teams, into the quarterfinals. Then 2-1 for Ronin over Flipside. That's the #1 upset, I have to say, for me personally, from what we've seen from the playoffs so far. Ronin pushing themselves into the semifinals, which we will see played today, and then Era beating out Looking for Org. Also kind of surprising, but that could have gone either way.
On the right-hand side of the bracket, you'll see Rogue taking on Oof Esports. Rogue won 2-0. Right below them, Team Reckless eliminating Regime 2-0 for them to meet in the quarterfinals. Vertical Gaming eliminating Throwing, also 2-0. And Bird University, formerly Infamy, defeating Uprise Gaming 2-0. So a pretty clear-cut first round there. Things get a bit murkier if you look at those quarterfinals. Reckless, in what is a pretty astonishing victory, defeated Rogue, a team that I think at the start of these playoffs expected, everybody thought there's no way Rogue is not going to be at that Invitational.
Right.
Now their participation very much in jeopardy. They will have to rely on either an invite or a wild card spot to get there, as they were eliminated in the first quarterfinal. And then beneath them, Vertical Gaming eliminating Bird University too, and that's what we said, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, one interesting thing, if we can zoom in on the semifinals here, Ronin Esports taking on Era and Reckless taking on Vertical Gaming. 3 of those 4 teams were in North American Challenger League last season. Ronin is the newest member of the North American Pro League because they took WBG spots in relegations. That leaves Era, the only team from Pro League last season, currently in it at the moment.
You know, I think a lot of people, when going into the North American playoffs, were thinking to themselves, Flipside and Rogue. Those are the 2 teams that are going to be really contending for this. And they met their match in the quarterfinals, not even making it to the semis. And so, yeah, it's honestly really interesting that we managed to boil it down to this, but I think it's also really exciting about teams like Team Reckless, Era, and Vertical Gaming, even Ronin as well. Like, all of these guys showing that, yes, we can in fact compete at this level. I mean, they've already proven that before, but there's still so much skepticism. There's so much pressure put on them because they're newer teams. They're a lot less experienced for the most part. Not entirely, of course. I know Era's got a lot of experience. Vertical Gaming's got a lot of experience, but Ronin and Reckless, obviously not touted as teams like what we see with Rogue, Flipside, Evil Geniuses in North America. So we'll see who manages to make their way into the finals here as we get into the semis moving forward. We do have a schedule for you for today. We'll take a look at the matches and the order in which we'll see those matches played.
First up is going to be Ronin versus Era. That's just our semifinal bracket. We'll get the correct one up in just a moment. But our first matchup is going to be Ronin Esports versus Era. That's the one coming up right after we are done talking. And then shortly thereafter, the conclusion of our first matchup, Vertical Gaming versus Reckless. And then that will determine which teams we will see tomorrow. And basically the way it works is we're going to have one matchup tomorrow. That's it. It's just going to be the winner of both of these, and then of course the winner of our final matchup at 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday night. We will see which team will get the North American spot before moving on to LATAM and then EU later on in the week. So myself and Kix will, of course, be doing Ronin versus Era, and then we'll be joined by Milos and Emzo to do Vertical Gaming and Reckless. It should be very exciting, and I think, honestly, we're not going to be casting Vertical Gaming versus Team Reckless, so we're going to get to enjoy in what I'm sure is going to be a heck of a matchup. Last night, we casted Vertical Gaming taking on Bird University, and that was a barnstormer of a match.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And something to remember about this is with Europe, of course, they have two spots. Two teams will be qualifying for the Invitational out of this competition. But North America, Latin America, APAC, they only have one spot to qualify. So it is a winner-take-all sort of deal. It is a single elimination. There's no potential for recuperation. So if you get finished off like we saw with Rogue, like we saw with Flipside, that's it. You're done. So only one of these four teams between Ronin, Era, Vertical Gaming, and Reckless are going to be going to the Invitational by virtue of this qualifier.
That's one of the things with having to prepare yourself for a style of single elimination tournament that we have right now, is it's that you really only get one shot, for better or for worse, and if you don't show up or you have a bad day, that's it. And that's part of what makes it so exciting.
You can't really blame anybody but yourself, too. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that people put on the fact that, oh, it's, single elimination, and sometimes that can be a bummer when you see yourself out so fast. But the truth, the reality, is that you win or you lose, and that's all it really boils down to, and it should boil down to that. So the teams that have managed to make it here are the ones who put in the most effort in this moment to win these matches, the ones who took it the most seriously, and I think that is probably going to be why, well, obviously that's why they made it this far. I don't really see anything going in differently. Effort really pays off where it's placed.
And I think there's something that can be said about how enjoyable upsets can be. I mean, if you're not a fan of the team playing, an upset is wonderful because it injects that drama, that excitement, and uncertainty. And it's, not to discredit any of these teams, but if you look back and you were to poll or petition all of the people who looked at this bracket and said, who do you think is going to be in the Final Four? I can almost guarantee you that there is nobody who has these four teams as their Final Four in any of their brackets. Not all four at the same time. Absolutely not.
Most people are going to have Flipside and Rogue, right? Like we talked about at the
Presumably.
beginning. Most people going into this were thinking to themselves, like, Flipside or Rogue are going to take it. And now neither of them will. It's honestly very surprising.
It could have even been the all top four.
Right.
All top four could have been the Final Four with the way it was set up, too.
Another thing that's surprising is it likely means that, Rogue and Flipside, neither of them as teams we expected to see at the Invitational, neither of them are going to be going by virtue of the of the qualifiers, which means they're going to have to either get a wild card or they just won't be there.
The invite as well. There are, of course, 4 invites, and I don't really know exactly how the invite system is going to work, but I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out at some point. There is still hope, but then, of course, yes, that wild card.
That's pressure on not the teams themselves, not the competition that they can provide, not the skill that they have, but rather external factors that they cannot influence. So it's a dangerous prospect, really. And it's frightening to see for those guys because, they've got so much experience. They want to be playing at the highest level. They haven't had an opportunity to do it in a while. I mean, we talk about Rogue. They didn't make it to the last final. It's for similar reasons, and they didn't make it all the way into the semis here. And you have to wonder, right, what's going on in their heads right now at this point. What are they going to change in order to, not have that be the case moving forward in their competition? I mean, anything's possible, right? They could keep up this this streak of just not being able to make it all the way, or they can institute some kind of change that allows them to push forward and actually compete with these teams that seemingly are just more enthusiastic.
For me, it's that you don't come into this in a position where you're like, you know what, let's not try to win because there's still an invite, because there's still a wild card. I don't think
there
that
also
at all.
Could be other external factors. You have to, you know, just to talk a little bit about, like, on Rogue side of things, they did just make a roster change, and that can sometimes mix things up. You know, losing King George, putting Easily on there, that could, you know, Easily's an excellent player, don't get me wrong, but that's still going to mess with your chemistry. That's going to make you have to reevaluate a lot of strategies and ways you address any defense or attack. So who knows? It could have been something along those lines. It could have been just drama. Anything's possible.
Right. We have our first interview of the day ready. It's going to be with Super from ENTRE, and we'll cut to him in just a moment. We'll say hello, and we'll go through the interview here. How are you doing, Super? Nice to see you. Apparently, he cannot hear us. That's okay. So, audio issues, unfortunately. Had some questions to ask him, but that's okay. We'll come back for the time being, and hopefully...
he's looking comfortable, though.
He does look very relaxed and ready. That's a nice game face. Very,
I like his setup.
Very stoic, almost. And he's become quite a prolific streamer now, too. He's streaming every single night, and... I'm obviously not going to plug his channel, but it's
he's definitely got the streamer setup going on here.
He's
with
got the
webcam.
streamer look.
It looks good.
It looks good.
It's good. Props for Super, but unfortunately the sound's not working. So hopefully we can get the interview. We'll see if we can't. We'll find out from production in just a moment if we're going to bump onto the roster, or if we're just going to continue on going with what we have. But, yeah, Super, yeah, he's been streaming a little bit more. And as a team, I think that ENTRE has been practicing a whole lot. And that's, of course, why they've made it here. We talked about enthusiasm. Let's take a look at the team sheet, the roster for ENTRE. It's going to be Gurmy, my man, Bosco, K9, and Super, of course, as we talked about. Here they are. And these guys, again, very enthusiastic, practicing a lot. You've got some old players, you got some mixed in, there's some new players. You know, K9, Bosco, my man Gurmy, those guys that have been playing for a long time. In fact, K9 is, you know, one of the oldest North American players, not in terms of age, but rather how long he's been a part of Rainbow Six since the very beginning. You know, he used to compete for one of the top teams in North America. And then Super, I mean, Super, again, he's bringing a lot of enthusiasm for his team. Now, unfortunately, it sounds like we're not going to be able to get the interview with Super, so life will move on, but that is the ENTRE roster. And, of course, we do not have stats for you because there is no ongoing season right now, and we're only just now getting into the qualifiers, really.
Right. That also means we're not going to be able to do the most played operators either, so that's something that we're going to bypass too.
Unfortunately.
The one thing I'm going to look at for this team is Bosco, of course, has been around the block an awful lot.
Oh, yeah.
He's been at LAN himself, as is Gurmy, as has my man, as is K9. Super is the only one on the team that has not competed at a LAN, and he is the newest. He is somebody that, one of the questions I actually wanted to ask him was, how has his personal adjustment to Pro League been? Because a lot of people, when he first came to Pro League, kind of derisively referred to him as a ranked star. So when you come in and you can say, all right, well, you made that transition. Your stats are pretty good. He jokingly refers to himself as Mr. 1.6 because that's what his KD was in his, I think, his 2 or 3 matches.
That could be misconstrued as a Counter-Strike 1.6 player.
Could be.
Easily.
Could be. But that's what he goes by. And I wanted to ask him and pick his brain as to how he, in particular, was able to make it work. But unfortunately, so this is a roster that's proven themselves many times. They've been to LAN, and I have no doubt that they're going to be quite a handful for Ronan, who is going to be our next roster up, and the team formerly known as Onslaught, Talon, Billboard, Chapstick, Yellow, and Peng playing today.
So, again, a bit of a mixed bag here with Ronan Esports. You've got the experience, you've got the new players. Yellow and Talon, they've been around the block for a long time. Billboard's just become of age. He's just managed to make his way into this team, into this league. He's definitely competitive at this level, but, you know, he's still fresh. He's still young. He's got a lot of learning to do. Chapstick, kind of in the same situation. He's had a mixed road. You know, he's gone through many different teams. I believe Elevate, Flipside, you know, he's been around the block.
Ominous as well.
Ominous as well. You know, he's really bounced around, and he's seemingly found his home here on Ronan, and hopefully he's going to really mesh with this team and to a degree where he's not going to want to move anymore. But we'll see if that continues on. Now, Yellow also famous for being a bit of an odd bag as in terms of a player. He uses the red dot as his primary sight, or at least he used to. People called it the yellow dot as a result. He kind of made that iconic in seasons past.
Now,
Peng is the only player I don't know very much about.
Peng is one of the main holdouts. So Onslaught, now known as Ronin, went through quite a substantial amount of roster changes, and the only mainstays from the past roster are Talon and Peng. Yellow, of course, played, if I remember correctly, with Lunatic, and then also played with Omen. Chap, we've said, has flown around, and of course, Billboard, as you touched on, just became of age. So it's a very new roster, and there was, of course, some growing pains when the ladder originally started. They did not do so hot in their first 5 or 6 matches. In fact, if I remember correctly, in their first 5 matches on the ladder, they only had 1 win to show for it. But able to right that ship. And now, not only did they finish in a decent position on the actual ladder itself, but are now among the Final 4. So they played poorly when it didn't really count and are playing well when it does. And now they will carry the banner as the newest Pro League team in North America. They won Challenger League last season, and now here they are, playing off against ERA.
And not only are they playing off against ERA, an excellent team, but they beat out Flipside of all teams to make it here. Now let's take a look at the bans for this match and see who exactly, or where exactly rather, we are going to be finding ourselves playing. Now it's the same map pool that we've seen in the past for the last couple seasons. I don't think anyone's really screaming for too many changes here. So I mean, it boils down to what you would expect in Rainbow Six Esports. Got a slightly new band phase set up, but it's all mostly the same.
Really aesthetically pleasing.
I like
it
this
a lot.
One. Yeah, it does.
I like this a lot.
It looks better. This is, of course, the Invitational theme rather than the Pro League theme.
And this is the first time we're seeing it, too.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're seeing all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's really nice. Shiny. Now, Consulate going to be the first ban for Ronin. That's kind of it's kind of interesting ban. I think if I recall, they did play Consulate. I want to say against Risky or earlier in the qualifiers. Could be wrong about that, but I believe they were actually really comfortable on that map. It might be that they're trying to avoid counter-stratting. Clubhouse being banned by ERA, Chalet banned by Ronin as their secondary map. Bank going on from ERA. I mean, these are pretty typical bans. These seem to be counter bans. They're trying to get rid of what the other team are comfortable on, and they're trying to get rid of their weaknesses.
Now, here's the interesting part. Ronin and ERA met in the qualifier ladder, and Ronin prevailed by a score of 2-1. If I remember correctly, Ronin won on Oregon and Skyscraper and lost on Chalet, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I do know for sure that they lost on Chalet. So, of course, banning Chalet makes a lot of sense, and Skyscraper was a matchup that ERA just 5-0'd looking for Oregon, so it's not a surprise that they're also banning out Skyscraper. Whereas, you look over at ERA banned Clubhouse, which over the last season of Pro League, ERA did exceptionally well every time they went to Clubhouse. So I'm very interested to know what the methodology is behind that. Did they ban it because they were fearing what Ronin could bring on that map? Or has ERA changed the maps that they are quite proficient on? Because with all the counter-stratting that goes on, it behooves you to try to fix new strategies on old maps and try to create new strategies on new ones. So with that said, Clubhouse, Bank, Coastline, Consulate, Chalet, and Skyscraper is going to be Border, Cafe, and Oregon. Some mix there, and we can load up the band picks when they are ready in just a moment or two. First blush, thoughts on what we just saw in that band phase?
Well, I think the first blush is just we've got ourselves this very typical maps. No big surprises, nothing like a bank, nothing like a clubhouse. I mean, the clubhouse used to be meta. It's not so much anymore. People tend to shun it. I mean, it's entirely possible the reason that they banned clubhouse isn't because, sure, they saw success on it in the past era, that is. But it could just be that they don't want to play the map anymore. Even if you're successful there, sometimes you get sick of a map, and sometimes you don't want to bring it to that anymore. Sometimes you have players on your team who go, you know what, I just don't want to touch it. I'm sick of it. But Border, Cafe, Oregon, Border's obviously, like their #1 competitive map in Rainbow Six, I think, right now, right next to Oregon, which is also in there as the decider. Cafe is, or likely as the decider, excuse me. Cafe is is a map that it's very linear, but at the same time, there's still room for maneuvering. It always finds itself in the same slot. You're either coming from the top of red, or you're pushing in from the east stairs when you're attacking the top floor. And it's kind of boring, honestly. And I feel like a lot of teams want to stray away from it, but it made its way through. We're taking a look at the pick phase now. Ronin's going to pick first. Air's going to pick second.
So first map is going to be Ronin's pick. Now, if I remember correctly, Ronin did actually play on Cafe against Risky, and Ronin won that matchup. So Ronin has already...
I think it's 2-0, right?
There is, I believe it was a 2-0. So there is footage now of your ERA to be able to look back on Cafe Dostoevsky and say, we see how Ronin played. Now, I, of course, was on a flight to Poland when they were playing that matchup, but Amidst my lengthy delays, I was, of course, able to see
I was
Chap's, I believe it was Chap's wonderful team kill on Billboard at the top. But I mean, amongst that,
There were a lot of team kills, actually. There was like 3,
kills.
if I recall.
Border's going to be pick number 1 from Ronan. So not too surprising that Ronan would pick Cafe if they feel that potentially Era is going to be able to do their homework. And we'll see, is Era going to pick Cafe, or are we going to have it as our decider? And of course, Era does pick Cafe Dostoevsky. I mean, particularly, they could feel that they have a specific weakness that they can exploit on Ronan's side.
Right, so Oregon is going to be the decider map. I was expecting it to be Cafe. Usually you see it be Border and Oregon. In that situation are going to be the picked ones. Teams typically prefer those maps. But whatever the case, I guess Arrow prefers to go on Cafe. I was also wrong. I was saying that Ronan played on Consulate prior. I think they played on Cafe and Bank are the maps they actually, against Risky, were the ones I'm thinking of. So that ban out may have just been a preference or a counter pick earlier. So, but still, no big surprises with this selection. No upsets whatsoever. Now we're just getting everybody ready to get into the match, and we'll be loading in as soon as possible. Again, map number 1, Border, very dynamic map. I'm expecting some different strategies to be employed. I know that the last time we saw a Border, I think it was a vertical gaming match, I want to say. There was a lot of new stuff, and so since we had a huge off season, every single region has had time to develop their strategies and change things since the last time we saw competitive play at all, which was the Brazilian finals. So leading up to these qualifiers, there's been a lot of expectations and wondering of what's going to be different, what's going to be new. So I think that's one of the things that's going to lend itself to the teams, again, that have the most enthusiasm and have put in time in this off season to actually get ready for these playoffs.
And another thing, too, that we're going to see impacted at some point is new operators.
Yeah.
Sophia, Dokebi, and Vigil are all going to be able to show their prowess here. And I just want to get it out of the way, is that on previous streams and on personal streams, we've been referring to her as Zosha, but for convenience, we are going to be referring to her as Zofia.
So we were talking to the Polish guys in production, and apparently Zosha is like, it can work if they're like a young girl.
Like a younger
right.
girl.
But if Zofia is not, I guess. So
She's
that's
a proud woman.
We're a proud woman, absolutely.
Very strong, independent woman.
But yeah, so we're gonna call her, I guess, Zofia, as the namesake is. I mean, that's how it's
mostly
spelled.
also just for convenience, because
Yeah.
I know there is always
It
some
makes so much
confusion
more
when
sense.
we say Zosha. People say,
Yeah.
well, who is that?
What is that?
So
But
Zosha is, from what we've been told.
technically speaking, Zofia or Zosha can make sense.
It does make sense
in the Polish context, but Zofia it is, and she is an operator. If we're going to talk about her abilities and how she's going to impact here, Zofia is an operator that I think initially when people heard about her, the entire community was like, "Why? That's so much stuff." She has the Gersmod ability where she can concuss. She has impact grenades, so she's effectively like a discount Ashe in that sense. She has a decent gun, and she can pick herself up. But from what we've been seeing so far in these qualifiers, it seems like she's not as important in this level of play as people were expecting. She does see play. But I've actually seen her utility used for clearing out ADSs, as if you're using a Habana. I've seen her utility used to force out positions, but honestly not that well. It seems like she's a fragger, but because she's not a 3-speed, people aren't really replacing Ashe. I don't think that could be really done with her. She doesn't. I know a lot of people were asking that question. It doesn't seem like Sophia's replacing Ashe.
She does. On paper, she seems a lot more powerful than she is, right? Absolutely. I think that she's very proficient at a couple things, but mostly just kind of fills a bunch of roles. And she doesn't do anything particularly well. Her ability to concuss, is it as strong as potential breaching charge of Ashe and then throwing a flash in and pushing? No, not really. Ashe is much better at that job of clearing things out. For Buck, you have frag grenades. For Sledge, you have frag grenades. For Buck, you also have the ability to open up walls with the skeleton key a lot better than you do with Zofia's 2 grenades in her launcher itself. So you find that Zofia can be used in conjunction with other operators. I think one of the best aspects of her is her actual gun itself. It seems like
it is a very good gun.
It's a very powerful weapon. It seems to be pretty easily controllable from what we've witnessed so far, and I think that's one of her most fearsome attributes.
I think one of the things to take away from that gun is that it's very consistent. It reminds me a lot of Frost's 9mm. I know a lot of people don't like it, but it's got very little recoil, almost none. It's got a decent fire rate, although it's honestly not that great. But it's a headshot machine if you just aim correctly. If you go for those headshots, you will 9 times out of 10 win the fight. And of course, at this level of play, that's what you have to be doing. But she, unlike Frost, she also has a decent form of utility that assists the game at this level of play. So But that's all. That's Sophia. I mean, we have other operators, other DLC operators to talk about. Vigil, of course, is... Well, he's really interesting because he's got 2 amazing, well, I guess 4 amazing weapons. The CZ's even a decent gun. The double barrel, while is good, isn't played at this level because he's a bit of a it's a hit and miss thing, right? And you can't take that kind of risk usually. You want to go for rate of fire. You want to go for consistency. The primary SMG on Vigil, amazing. The SMG-12, amazing. The SMG-12 is an SMG-11 with more bullets, a silencer, and the same recoil pattern as an SMG-11 with a silencer. So it's basically, we all know how it works. We're very familiar with it. But here's the thing. I've just been talking about his weapons for a couple minutes, and that's his main takeaway. His ability, while not useful, while interesting and can deceive the enemy and can aid you in your roam, ultimately lends no utility to your team. And that's why we haven't been seeing it very much in the North American qualifiers so far, in the European qualifiers, and I assume in the Latin American qualifiers as well. It just seems to be an operator that people like, but don't want to sacrifice utility for.
And we do have everybody ready so we can launch into map number 1. So we'll start with our very first matchup in the NA Rainbow Six Invitational Playoffs. In our semifinals, Ronin squaring off against Era. And we're going to go to Border itself.
And as we load into Border, in just a moment, we'll be bringing it up. There it is. Thank you for your patience. As we load into Border, we are going to be having Ronin on attack, Era on defense, armory lockers. No surprises anywhere in the operator selection, nor in the site selection. Ying going to be coming out. That's likely to entail a smoke strat. Well, obviously it's going to be a smoke strat. That's the only reason you bring Ying. So I'm guessing, based upon that, either well, obviously an A wall push or a Office's B wall push. Those are about your options if you're going to employ smoke. With the Candela's, the extra layer, I'm expecting it to probably be a B push, though the lack of a glass might work against that strategy. If you have a glass, you can stick them on the rappel all the way out on the east balcony after you open up the B wall, lay down your smokes, and cut off rotation without exposing yourself as an attack whatsoever. But I'm sure that Ronin has plans for each and every one of their operators.
No doubt. We've seen Talon run Ying a lot, if I remember correctly. And maybe if not Talon, then in particular, we've seen Ronin run Ying a lot, especially in Challenger League. So I want to know how this works. I mean, you could, as you said, maybe set up an armory push, or my guess is that with this setup the way it is, they're probably going to go for an office take. That's going to be my suspicion is it's probably going to be an office take.
I mean, an office take is so aided by the use of smoke, and it seems like, based upon the positioning right now of Ronin, it seems like it's going to be an office push. They're all prioritizing the east stairs. Now, Yellow's going to be contesting the CCTV doorway, and it seems like he's forced the bandit out of CCTV. That's smart on Gurmy, if you ask me, not trying to fight that. He doesn't have an ACOG anymore, and it would be definitely to his detriment, I think, to take that challenge. Claymore's going down at the top of east stairs from Peng, and he now has one of the most important pieces of control for the attack, in that they can deny any potential roamers coming from behind, but not from below. My man and K9 both have C4, which means at any moment they could drop down or already be downstairs if Ronin decides not to clear out the roamers underneath, and C4 from below, denying any potential plants or just getting a couple kills.
We'll swing in and take control of east balcony right now, and another Claymore goes down too. You've seen the Talon has lost a little bit of health, but he's the only one at the moment who is not fully healed.
We were talking about how attractive the new overlays were and whatnot for the Invitational. I just love the way that it's a 3-tiered thing for the score of the maps instead of what we're doing with the numbers. That's wonderful.
I really, really do enjoy that. Yeah. I like all the graphics for the Invitational so far have been absolutely on point. And this, of course, not too much of a surprise. Now, first contact looks like it should be with Super as he's holed up inside offices, potentially primed for a run out. He's going to get the first kill. He takes the head off a billboard. Ella, by the way, as down goes Yellow too, and it looked like he was going to go for a third, but instead gets taken down right as one of those Ella mines gets tossed away. Talon gets blown to pieces by K9 C4, and that's going to leave just Peng and Chap up as Super's going to try to crawl his way to safety.
He might make it. He is going for it, but no, Peng from the breach in the wall going to eliminate Super. It's still a 2-on-4 though, and these last remaining attackers are going to have to crawl their way out of this pit. Unlikely to happen though, as K-Knight takes out Ping. It's a 1-on-4.
And that's going to leave just Chap left as he tries to fight against all of the members of ERA. Now, here's one of the issues with ERA is that even if, or rather not issues with ERA, but one of the beautiful parts of ERA is that they have strong fraggers on supporting roles. I'm looking specifically at both K9 as well as Bosco, and you see there, K9, it looked like 3 kills on that round.
Great round.
Doing so from that fountain wall with the Mira aiding him on doing so, and of course, ERA takes round number 1.
You know, K9 is, I don't think there's any player in all of Rainbow Six that has as many positions named after himself as K9. K9 is one of the most notorious players in Rainbow Six professional play because what he does is he picks a location, or his team picks a location for him. He plays that location to perfection. Every time you stick him on a roll, you can't expect him to adapt too much, but you can expect him to be a rock. And sometimes an immovable boulder that just cannot be surpassed by the other team. And that's him displaying just that trait in that round, using his mirror window inside a fountain to completely stop the attack coming into office. Now, Ronin going to be defending Armory, same as what we just saw from ERA. And they are going to be down a round, so they've got a lot of pressure starting to mount on them. Now, of course, both of these teams are very skilled. There's no easy way to predict who is going to be the victor here, which means every round has so much more pressure on it. I mean, sometimes when you come into a match and you assume you're going to be the ones who are going to win, like a lot of people were expecting Flipside, a lot of people were expecting Rogue. Sometimes that can alleviate pressure, but that pressure not being there at times can also be a bad thing because it means you push yourself not nearly as hard. I'm expecting this match to go very intensely all the way to the third map, overtime, 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 because both of these teams really are going to want it. Both of these teams are working hard for it, and it could go either way.
They've already taken control up top. We've only gone 30 seconds in here for this round, and I'm really inquisitive to see, or I'm really inquisitive about how ERA is going to coordinate their attack. Now, that was a bit of a lackluster start by Ronin for a team that has played as efficiently as they have, and having a win over ERA will certainly help them, I'm sure, though they did not play on border. It was indeed Chalet, Skyscraper, and Oregon that they played on previously, losing Chalet but winning Skyscraper and Oregon. So Oregon is going to be the tiebreaker, which should bode well for Ronin if they can get to that point, but we'll have to wait and see.
The main thing for me to take away from that last attacking round from Ronin is they were mechanically, I think, negligent. They missed a lot of ways to deal with the problems they had in front of them and instead opted to go for more archaic solutions. For example, in this beginning of this round, ERA had their buck on the roof ready to nade Sandwich. What happened last time for the defense of ERA? They had somebody inside of Sandwich. That was the Ella, who got a double kill before being eliminated themselves. Now, if there had been a nade perhaps to come from above, combined with the Thatcher to deal with the ADSs, that might not have been the case, but they skipped that, and that is, again, just mechanical negligence.
They have no Jaeger there to stop right now, and 4 frag grenades available at the moment for ERA. All of them, except for 1, have gone off. There's still a frag on the buck. It did look like. No, he's used it, actually. So that's 4 off right now. Nice bandit trick from Yellow to prevent the push from Super into that west wall inside of offices. Bill still hold up just by Fountain as well. They will have to dislodge him at some point, or else a push on the office just simply will not work. He will get droned out, though, and probably one of those 3 speeds will try to do that job. And look at that. Super just sprints right in, and down goes the Mira, and that's a priority kill for ERA at the moment. They should now be able to try and get inside of office. They do have control of Fountain, and a really nice spot from Super. He's going to open that wall up and take Chap out after Chap eliminates Bosco. So a trade, but still favors in terms of numbers, an advantage to ERA. Super pops his head up, and Yellow manages to land that kill, put us at a 3v3 with just under 30 seconds left. You still have the diffuser in the hands of K9, but you're going to have a tough time if you're on the defense. Why? Because B is completely open, but man eliminates Yellow. Talon will trade off, and still 2v2. Now, Talon, as an anchor, has great proficiency with that SMG-11. He'll get flashed by Gurmy and try to look away as that Ash can sprint right in. One of those flashes does the job, and completely blind as Talon is able to just hold on. Peng eliminates K9 as he's planting the diffuser, and Ronin will answer back. We are all tied up 1 apiece, so 2 rounds for the defense in a row. And we're just going to come back here just for a second because there was a bit of an audio issue. We do apologize for that. And we'll be rehosting the game. Just a bit of a brief restart. And then when the audio is back, we should be good to get back into the action. And not entirely certain what happened. But we apologize. And
unfortunately, we've been having a number of audio issues. And we'll be moving back into the match quickly. This one was addressed. That's wonderful. We should also have interviews hopefully later for the coming matches.
Hopefully.
Apologies again that we missed them this time. But now sound is back, and Arrow will be taking us downstairs. Now, as you stated, it's been defender win after defender win. You know, it's really every time we fall into that trap. It happens sometimes, not always, but every time it happens, it is the team who breaks free of the pattern who wins the map 9 times out of 10. Comebacks from that rarely actually occur. They're known to happen, but it's rare. Now, Era, the way they're setting themselves up here, it looks like they're going to be prioritizing holds upstairs. K9, you could see putting a mirror window inside of Armory facing towards archives and offices, and that's going to give them a lot of denial for the top floor. Obviously, the attack, generally speaking, will prioritize taking that top floor. Aiding with the castle barricades, if placed correctly, can help that mirror window be a huge thorn in Ronin's side. We'll see how Ronin chooses to address it. They could simply push from the Armory wall. Take CCTV, push into Armory, and then you're coming up behind the mirror window instead. But we'll see where that other, of course, K9 mirror window decides to find itself. Now, control of the top of East Stairs for Yellow and Ronin. As you may have noticed, if you're not familiar with Rainbow Six Esports, on Border, taking control of the top of East Stairs is your primary goal for the most part if you're going to be clearing the top floor, because it lends you so much denial in terms of the roam game. You cut off those East Stairs, and the only way for a roamer now to come up behind you is from, you guessed it, East Stairs. But you stick a Claymore there, you stick one person to watch it, and it's generally an easy fight no matter what.
That's a really nice skin on Blackbeard. Just to take a second here, that's a really, really nice skin on Blackbeard. And Peng's going to have a long line of sight. Don't know if he can see the head of the man as he can peek around that corner, but right now they're just going to wait and nice and patient. And this is something where you could call Peng on K9 at the moment, if we can use that parlance in particular. But right now, both K9 and Super are doing an excellent job for their team. And I think one of the big components to Era is whether Super shows up today or not. So far, he absolutely has. But with him being one of your primary fraggers, you need him to be able to get those kills. Now in the matchup, get those kills. In the matchup earlier against Looking for Orc, formerly Most Wanted, what we saw is almost the feet almost get taken off. Nice wriggle there from K9. Talon had lost some of his health, but not too much. Some Candelas will go off themselves. It doesn't look like it's that efficient, as it appears that they managed to finally get that barricade, and now K9 has retreated inside of Workshop itself.
That was 2 of the 3, I believe, Candelas used on the castle barricade. Now only 1 left. That's not going to be good for your sight push. Here comes a C4, and it will not hit any of the attackers. Getting a drone, but that's not really efficient use of the C4. Smokes go down from both teams, and the Thermite charge can open up that east wall into Workshop. Now these defenders pressured to stay alive as Thermite challenges the long angle onto K9. He's narrowly dodging these headshots, but still trying to take the fights. Very ballsy with only 35 seconds left to go.
Couple shots from Mira onto Talon inside a bathroom. First kill is going to go to Bosco as Yellow goes down, but both Talon and Chap very low on health. So your Ying and your Thermite holding on just by a hair as the rest of Ronin tries to get in sight. A missed opportunity from Peng there as somehow Super gets away with 1 health. Billboard takes down Gurmy, but gets traded off as my man manages to get that Blackbeard hanging. And Chap storms in and eliminates K9. They will be able to get the diffuser down as Bosco pushes up, and Chap just not able to pull up in time. Billboard eliminates my man, and 2v2 as Talon is downed. It's all up to Billboard. He'll grab that diffuser and need to start the plant or go frag hunting. And that's a long 7 seconds for them to try to find where he is and pre-fire all those corners. Bosco runs in, as is Super. They might get it down in time, but it doesn't really matter. Bosco with that shotgun punishes Bill, leaving Talon to bleed out in the bathroom, and the defense will continue their reign of terror. That's 3 rounds in a row for the defenders, and Era will take that quite easily.
Right, you are. K9 finally going to finish off the down. Talon and the diffuser, the disable of the diffuser, going to come out. Now, just a reminder for all those who are not familiar, the time to diffuse, or plant the diffuser and disable the diffuser is 7 seconds, I believe, which is much longer than ranked. If we had seen it be 5 seconds as it is in ranked, then it probably could have easily been a clutch out there. But unfortunately, when you get stuck on that situation, you're not likely to get out of it. Now, I have to hand that round to a little bit of a mishap on the top floor hold. If it had been the case that they maintained control, or Ronin specifically, if they maintained control over the east stairs, they would have denied the bandit flank in the later end of the round, and they would have probably had much more pushing power moving forward when they made the workshop push itself. There was also the fact that Peng stayed on his rappel on the east balcony for the entire round. He was there for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a long time to be in one place. And unfortunately, nothing came of it. Again, because they lost control over top of east stairs. The bandit able to make that flank, that notoriously difficult flank, because, again, hold these stairs, and that never happens. A little bit negligent there on the Ronin side of things. Hopefully they can rectify that on their next push going towards workshop, or they can just mix things up and try something different. Now it's time for ENTRE to show us how they're going to push into Ronin's defense. As you see, again, different team, same strategy, top floor control for Ronin. Castle and Amira both try and delay the push for as long as possible. Actually, Ronin will be doing it a step further, though, as they push their way into archives rather than simply holding the armory. A little bit dangerous because it lends you exposed to grenades and pressure from the north balconies. But as long as the Jaegers are in the right place and the people who are actually playing in archives don't expose themselves too much, then it's likely to be able to maintain their position.
Looks like K9 was really using his namesake there, except in spawn, just standing completely still. We'll see if he'll be able to get back into the action anytime soon.
It's possible maybe he's droning for his teammates, but my man's gonna get a headshot onto Yellow. Way too aggressive there, Yellow. Should have just waited inside of archives with your teammate. Unfortunately, he is going to bite the dust early. I like the audacity of the play, but, you know, it's oftentimes not going to pay off for you. Good drone work from ENTRE to make that be against Ronin. Now, that is a man disadvantage for the defense, and good time usage here from ENTRE, which means it's too early to call, really, but we might see our first successful attack. They're going to have to deal with the mirror window inside of the archives, though, and a bandit playing on top of it is going to negate the Thatcher use.
They'll manage to burn that ADS pretty early on, which, of course, is an expenditure that you use with those X-Kairos. Now they'll be able to use that thermite charge. Talon doing a great job bandit tricking at the moment, but having to go do double duty. Will he get it in time? He does. Excellent job from the bandit, and that is going to try to frustrate the defense, or the attackers rather. And now the defense in much better position. They took what essentially was problematic because they didn't have that Jaeger anymore and were down by 1. And managed to successfully waste a lot of utility, and it will now require ENTRE to just simply get in there themselves without the use of their gadgets. Another bout of X-Kairos will go down, but Talon, a great streak at the moment as he gets yet another round of X-Kairos, and that should be all 3, and that'll deprive, at the moment, ENTRE of all of their maximum utility.
That is some excellent A-level bandit tricking there from Talon. You really got to hand it to him. He is, even if they don't manage to win the round, or Ronin that is, I'd say Talon takes away MVP. He just delayed for 2 whole minutes and forced all of the the hard wall destruction out of ENTRE's utility. Now they cannot get their way in from tellers towards workshop. They're going to have to play just off of what's available to them, and that's not very much.
They literally have one doorway to go through because all of those castle barricades are there to prevent them from going in. But in the same time, the Hibana of Bosco eliminates Chap. That was your smoke underneath before Peng eliminates Gurmi. So you've taken down the Ash, but still the attackers an advantage of 1. They're just bleeding out on time. Talon coming in for much belated flank, but they are watching and waiting. K9 eliminates him. Bill takes out Maman. Still 3v2. At the moment, Ronin needs to maintain site control. They are off-site, and ENTRE is holding on. The Mira pops up. Bosco is able to take the Mira of Bill down, and K9 eliminates Peng. We see our very first attacker round win, and Ronin is going to lose that one. ENTRE up 3-1.
Ronin, you know, honestly, again, Talon, he did an excellent job on that roam. Fantastic. He not only had a successful roam, he basically single-handedly forced the other team in ENTRE to reevaluate their strategy. He got all of the hard destruction, making it so ENTRE had to push through just what was available, the open doorways. And yet still, ENTRE managed to win the round because Ronin, the anchors themselves downstairs, they got too aggressive, for no reason, peeking doorways. For example, peeking the main hallway door that allowed Hibana to get that kill. I'm not sure what's going on in that thought process. I think it was a Smoke who did that as well. You know, you're in the last 20, 30 seconds of the round. Use your gas containers. Just delay. Wait patiently. And that is not the mentality, of course, that we saw used here by Ronin. So, as a result, they put themselves now, for the first time, down in a major lead for Era. Also, the first successful attack, despite no heart destruction. Very surprising. Armory defense now going to be coming out, of course, from Era. Now, they were successful here in spectacular fashion. I think it was pretty one-sided, honestly. And I'm guessing it's going to continue that way. So it's reliable here to see match point so early into this map. I was not expecting this.
No, neither was I, especially with the fact with how well both of these teams have played in the brackets so far. I know that Era and Ronin both played an awful lot of games, but hey, at the moment, they will go back to defense, so if the pattern still holds, Era will be able to push us to match point, as you said. But Talon charging in, he's going to climb his way up east wall, and a good performance from Bosco, too. And now Bosco is the newest member to the team themselves. They did have Janon Smile in Pro League last time around, and they managed to remove him on the team, or rather, whether he left the team or not. I don't really know the circumstances of which, but regardless, they managed to pick up Bosco, who appeared to be set to join Vertical Gaming, but then joined Era instead. And they'll open up that wall, and right now, some good offensive pressure being applied, but it's really only cosmetic damage that was done to Super with that grenade as he scampers off. And similar hold to last time. You've got K9 inside a fountain, you've got Super just by those office walls on the east side of the room, just trying to hold off on any push. And that's going to it's really going to deprive them of the opportunity to be able to walk in and take control of office and then start your assault on the actual mirror window too. So a nice two-headed attack, and they'll have to establish a beachhead if they want to be able to get past that.
So we did see the actual proper play to get rid of a sandwich defender, grenades coming from the skylight above, but unfortunately it's not working out for Ronin so far. They used one nade and it missed. The second one is going to miss in a second as Super gets aggressive, takes out Yellow, and might even get the Thatcher, but narrowly missing Billboard's head. He only has a little bit of HP left, about 1/3 of his health. And there are plenty of attackers watching the angle now, but he's at Ella, and he will get another kill onto Billboard as he peeks the window once more. And a third onto Panga, fourth onto Talon. He only needs one more for the ace. Chapstick at the top of East Stairs, gonna see the long angle onto Super, but missed the shot, and here comes Ella. Oh, he's got a lot of rounds in his mag. He's just gonna spray wildly, but not enough HP, and Chap will get the kill, denying the ace for Super, but you gotta say, honestly, it doesn't matter. The round now in a 1 versus 4, and Chapstick in a bad position to try to win this. He's going to do his best as he peeks into the main hallway. He's likely to be met with a defender simply holding the angle, and one of them creeping his way into office, likely to get the kill in a second. That's just him. Gurmy slowly walks into office and gets that kill as Chapstick peeks from the hallway. An excellent round from Super. Great use of Ella, by the way. And he will get a 4K by virtue of tons of bullets and high rate of fire, as well as some excellent skill of Super himself.
That's just the kind of operator that Ella is.
That's just it's Ella, by the way.
It just does Ella things. You can send an Ella off, she does Ella things, and that's exactly what it does. And especially, it's not even just that it's Ella, it's also that Super is well,
just to be
I
clear,
guess well shaped as a person to be able to get those type of kills and those plays. Absolutely. I think you got a little too aggressive with Chap. I think you could have just simply waited. Now Chap was holed up at the top of those stairs, and at any moment Super really just could have sat and wait for Chap to push.
He was hungry for the ace,
but he was hungry for it. He rushed right in too much and missed the first couple shots, went to try to hip fire and just wasn't able to land those shots at all. Chap got it, but then it really wasn't, like you said, it didn't really matter. A 4K from Super is very important, and that ties into what I mentioned earlier where I said that it's really going to come down to whether Super can show up, and right now he absolutely is, and you know that bodes well for the rest of the team. When Gurmy is bottom fragging and the rest of the team is pulling their weight, then there isn't really too much to worry about. So, match point, we are on round number 6. Era doing a fine job against Ronin, and the most frightening aspect of I Am Ronin is this is Ronin's map as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It never really bodes well when you're losing on your own map. Now, of course, Siege is at times unpredictable, but you really need to do your best in predicting when you're deciding what map to go to. So, either not enough research done here by Ronin, or simply they're being outclassed. But honestly, again, I was not expecting this to be as one-sided as it appears to be right now. Now, again, yeah, just to be clear, we weren't trying to take away from Super when we said, you know, it's Ella, by the way. It's Ella, by the way.
As an operator, that's what she does.
Yeah.
You know, and in the right hands, she can go even more. Now, obviously, somebody at a lower level playing Ella, you're not going to be able to really accomplish what you just saw.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not anybody can do it. But in this round, we are seeing a Armory defense, of course, from Ronin, I believe. Yes, indeed. And Arrow's going to be starting their round off, of course, taking control. Oh, a run out from Bandit. Where did that happen? Looks like it was from he was rotating back from CCTV into Armory, it looks like. Smart play there, again, not exposing yourself for too long. You delayed a minute, you don't need to linger any longer. But, yes, same attack we've seen every single time from both of these teams happening. E stairs, office, force out B wall. Now, they're being met with the mirror window of Billboard again over in, I believe that was Fountain. Yellow's going to go for an attempted flank here. He might actually get it because there's nobody from Arrow right now watching CCTV nor aware of this presence from the Bandit. Gurmy's in fact going to be in cafeteria, droning, watching his flank, and he will see the Bandit. Here it comes, the headshot onto Bandit, or will it be an upset actually? Ash is going to take some damage here. Bandit, not at all. Obviously, side advantage going to go to Gurmy. He has the angle. Yellow peeks aggressively. Gonna eat a flashbang as he falls back. Gurney will hit the headshot. A nice spray there, eliminating Yellow. Billboard's gonna fall downstairs. Now, the reason he's done that is to avoid the nades for one, but for two, to be able to get C4 from below. Gurmy, conscious of the drop, may have heard it. Bosco gets a shot onto Chapstick. We're in the last minute of the round. Era has the advantage.
Down 2, losing your dock as well. Still have 2 anchors, though Bill has lost a lot of his life and been softened up previously by a couple shots. And even though only has half of his health, or just thereabouts, Gurmy goes down. Talon adds that with my man, and they answer back. That's 2 quick kills that'll equalize things. 3v3, and now Peng with that MP5. Down goes Super. And it's going to leave just K9 and Bosco. The 2 SAS operators on attack. Bosco loses a whole lot of life in that fight now, as he, inside of office hallway, looks to try to make a push into B. K9 a little bit separated. We'll now have to join him inside of offices as a smoke goes down. Peng situated by those armory lockers. I'll give him some good cover, just waiting, and pop up Bosco, and off goes his head as Peng makes a nice shot happen from quite a distance. That's going to leave K9 as Peng taps away to deny a push in. Another smoke, and K9 now with just 10 seconds to go is in a world of hurt. Bill will try to creep up, but can't control the spray of that Vector, and Peng taps away through that cloud of smoke. A 3K for Peng prevents them from losing this round, but still on match point in favor of Era 4-2.
So that's about it. That's the reason why you see the 3 armors played 9 times out of 10. They can do a lot of damage from very far on the very tight angles. I mean, you saw there K9 was conscious of the position of the Rook, but he could not make anything work for him because Rook Peng himself, he was not peeking too aggressively. He knew he only needed to wait patiently, and he did just that. So, narrowly avoiding losing the first map outright there from Ronin, but you gotta imagine they're still feeling the pressure. As Era goes downstairs into the ventilation workshop, I believe they saw success the last time they went here as well, so it looks like it could be the end for Ronin on map number 1, but still, anything's possible. Now, map number 2, for those of you who were not here for the ban phase and the pick phase, is gonna be Oregon. Cafe, I believe, will be our decider.
I mean, Cafe will be next, and then Oregon will be the decider, right?
Is it Cafe's next, and then Oregon's the decider?
That's sure what it looked like.
I'm pretty sure it's Oregon's the next one. Or no, you're right. Cafe's the decider. No, Cafe, yeah. Cafe's the second map. Excuse me. Oregon is the decider. Oregon is definitely the decider. Yeah.
So if I'm looking at the way that Ronin has played, you've already beat Era on Oregon previously. If you can get to that third matchup, then obviously you're going to be able to take a bit of a deep breath and say, there's still a high likelihood you can do this. But at the moment, 2 things are either happening right now. Number 1, Era has been able to study a lot of the way that Ronin has played, and they are prepared, and a different Era has shown up today than the one that previously showed up against Ronin, or Ronin might have straight up lost at ban phase and have to play on 3 maps they are not particularly comfortable on, nor really prepared for. And this is also a map that plays very well to Era's style of play. They are a very fast team, and all 5 of them are capable of top fragging regardless of their position. There's nobody that is a poor frag getter on that team, and because of that, a map like Border that has maximum destructibility, long sight lines, the ability to engage at both longer distances as well as close quarters, and if you can take a site, you can make a push happen very quickly. I think that is suited very, very well to the way that Era plays.
I absolutely agree with you, but there's also ways to play border at a slower pace. I mean, one of the best border teams in North America, if we're just going to take a step back here, is Evil Geniuses, right? And they do play it very aggressively, but they can also play it passively. And I think the beauty of the map, the beauty of border, is that you can do it either way and get away with it. It mostly depends on you being able to do a little bit of both, but also when you decide to do one and not the other, in terms of passive or aggressive, you commit to it fully. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, yeah, that's going to favor Era a little bit, I think, because they've got the experience to be able to pick something and just go in, just dive for it, even if it's unsuccessful. And it's definitely been working out for them so far. Ronin, on the other hand, I think what's been hurting them a lot is they have trouble committing to something. So, for example, when they tried to take upstairs and then force downstairs, it really mixed up their dynamic. As you can see here right now, they're trying to open up the teller's wall in towards the workshop. Unfortunately, Yellow's going to take a lot of damage, and time is continuing to tick away. Billboard inside of open area. He's just going to be trying to deny any potential flanks. Gurmy's still inside of customs, though, and he is going to have a lot of information to gather using his heartbeat sensor. As he gets droned out from Ronin, they're going to be conscious of this finally, though. He's got to be careful. Chapstick finally going to be able to thermite open the workshop wall as the last minute comes out.
Yellow, who lost a lot of life, manages to take somebody down with him before he goes. That's Bosco off the board, and Gurmy inside of Customs, who has not really been noticed. That drone might have actually gone by him without seeing him, as now Gurmy's going to try to pop up and use that kill hole inside of the Customs desk office to try and take somebody out with him. 40 seconds, they will need to make their push. Your smoke is off. They cannot deny that ability to push in through bathroom unless they use one of the C4s. And of course, they have two of those, both with K9 and Gurmy running the Nitro Cell. An opportunity to at least take one or two down. The man manages to come in, and Billboard goes, and K9 jumps in, and what left is Yellow is now off the board too, as Chap eliminates K9 and Talon adds. Gurmy goes down. That's your pulse off the board. You're going to leave your bandit and your castle, the castle of Super, who is upstairs, and my man tries to get Chap. He'll do it again. Chap tries to plant in the exact same spot and meets the same fate as before, though Super is finished off from Peng above. So a key mistake last time was not being able to finish the job. Now my man pushes in. He gets Talon, and Peng is going to have to plant, as it's all up to the bandit to get back on site. 7 seconds. My man knows the spot, and Era will take map number 1. And what a round from the bandit, just continuously rotating. Ronin committing two pretty big mistakes at that very final moment, and it's going to bite them. We'll move to Cafe Dostoevsky, with Era taking the first map 5-2. And need I remind everybody, that was Ronin's map.
Which means Cafe, Era's map, is going to put a lot of pressure onto Ronin. Now, in that last round, it actually looked like Ronin might have recovered at later ends of the attack. The last 15 seconds, you saw a seemingly unnecessary push from Era, caused them to lose a lot of manpower, but ultimately, because of the lack of time on Ronin's part, they just couldn't force it out. And there were a lot of roamers playing very, very far out. However, you have to give points to Era. You got to say, like, maybe hold off a little bit. If you got 15 seconds left as defense, you don't need to start running into the attack. And Ronin were still holding angles at that point. Again, we saw Peng rappelling on the east balcony for almost the entire round. That sort of passiveness can work for you sometimes, but when you're dealing with a team like Era, who's going to expect it, and did for the most part, it's going to be difficult. You gotta put a little bit more extra, maybe a crossfire, for example. Take control over customs, deal with the pulse over there, first of all. But yes, take control over customs. Then you have two angles to address the anchors instead of just, hey, walk into us, guys. You know, it doesn't work.
The one thing that I noticed that was the biggest mistake that was made, and like I said, it was made twice, was that when Chap first went to get his plant, he was playing as the Thermite, he came in, he was planting next to that workbench.
He got off it.
And, well, it's not that he got off the plant. He got off the plant at a decent time. The issue was that there were still two members of Ronin who were alive. You had Peng up top, who was able to finish off the castle but not get to site fast enough, and then you had the Sledge, who I believe was Talon. Neither of them were able to get there in time to cover Chap when he got the plant off. You basically stuck the planter in a room on site with two members of Era also on site, and you gave him no protection. And so what ends up happening? And then finally, once that defuse gets finished, the man came in, took Chap out, rotated out. You have Talon and Peng both still there. Talon is standing at the door of that workshop, looking like longingly inside, but really only just looking for somebody to try and take advantage of. He wasn't trying to get the plant off himself. The man rotated, and that was it. And by the time Peng got to site, it was all over. We'll take a look at the highlights, though, of what just happened in our matchup.
Yeah, and again, what you were saying plays perfectly into the fact that there was just a single front attack there from Ronin. They didn't really do anything other than push in through tellers and hold above on the long angle using their Blackbeard. And because of that lack of dynamic play, they didn't have any opportunities to support each other. Again, if they had just taken customs and it dealt with the pulse, even if they had lost some manpower dealing with that pulse, if they had taken customs and then established a crossfire, they would have had players in position to cover this plant that we're just seeing here. It's called default spot or dark spot by some. If you had someone to cover that, you would have been able to deny the bandit, denying Chapstick the plant itself, and it could have been a wholly different round. We might have even seen overtime. Anything's possible, but yeah, no, just a lack of teamwork, a lack of communication, and I think just putting people in positions where they don't really necessarily need to be, lingering for too long.
The attacks of Ronin did not look as coordinated as they could have, and there's that one round that really sticks out in my mind was when Talon was bandit tricking so well. If I remember correctly, they still lost that round.
Yeah.
So you have one of the finest performances to shut down all of the breachable utility from two operators. You have Hibana and Thermite basically nullified, giving you an opportunity to know that there's only really two avenues to push them. They had those castle barricades in place. The Ashe had used her breaching charges. They really didn't have an opportunity to get into the site, and despite the fact that you knew where Era was going to be pushing, and despite the fact that you took away both exothermic charges as well as 2 rounds of DX Kairos, you still weren't able to deal with that tide that crashed onto the shores of Ronin. And I mean, they ended up losing it.
It wasn't just that they weren't able to deal with it. I mean, we saw a lot of things. We saw Ronin do a lot of things that just made no sense. There's smoke peeking the doorway into the main hallway, for one, allowing, I think it was Chapstick to get the kill and get him out early. I mean, you have to be able, or not Chapstick, rather, it's one of the Era players, being Chapsticks on Ronin, but yeah, you have to be able to just read the situation, be like, okay, we've got 20 seconds left, I have gas canisters. Maybe just throw them and wait. You know, again, no hard destruction whatsoever. They're not prompting you with any hard destruction. You don't hear the X-Kairos even being shot. You don't hear the thermite charges being placed, so hold the phone, relax, and just win on time. But we are going to be going into map number 2. It's going to be Cafe Dostoevsky, and it is going to be one map in favor of Era. Ronin now put in a pressure position going on to Era's map, Era's pick.
Facing elimination.
Yep.
And Era is hoping to be the first team. And now the way that we do have the bracket set up is that with Ronin playing against Era, one Pro League team, no matter what, will be represented in the finals. And then with the other round, it's Vertical Gaming versus Reckless, one Challenger League team. And I found it very interesting that it looks like we have a Vigil for the very first time.
So, Vigil on Bar Cocktail Lounge, I'm not surprised. I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. It reminds me quite a lot of the flip side Mint Mute roam inside of Piano. I'm guessing we're either going to see the Vigil downstairs or in Piano. Those two locations can be very, he could be very useful on the roam. Now, if you play him downstairs, then you're probably going to couple him with a Pulse, so he can defend the Pulse while the Pulse attempts to C4 from below. If you play him in Piano, then the focus is just going to be on obviously denying Piano control. But I actually doubt now, by looking at this lineup, I actually doubt that it's going to be Piano control, because if you look here, we don't have a Mute or a Bandit, which means Red Wall, the top of Red Stairs, that is, can easily be opened up with almost no form of denial coming from Roman. They have no way to say, no, you can't have this wall. They're going to have to either rely on roaming coming up from the bottom of Red Stairs, which honestly, if Arrow lets that happen, that's disappointing. Or, as you can see them prepping for, C4 from below. So those holes that are being made right there in the Piano 4 are going to be able to be utilized underneath, assuming that we don't see the Blackbeard put himself on the east or the west balcony windows, which is probably likely. I mean, Bosco on Blackbeard, that's likely where he's going to find himself. K9's going to get the first kill this round onto Yellow, as Yellow attempts to spawn peek out of the white garage. So that's already the new operator seeing his demise. And obviously the defense going to be, or Ronin themselves going to be feeling a lot of pressure right now, given that they're already a map down.
Cafe Dostoevsky is a map that is notoriously difficult to manage to take the first floor of. It's one of the few maps in the game that is very, very treacherous to be able to get in and take that floor. Once you do your droning, we've seen a lot of teams simply just stall out because they can't get control of that floor. Gurmi is inside, now Billboard is gone, and look at how much control Era already has. They have the first floor, and now they have the second floor as well, and this is just them steamrolling. When you have an operator like Vigil, who punishes teams that don't have a suitable drone game and doesn't have that entry fragging capability, Vigil is very important to repel people from potentially, or at least give some thought into where you're going to be pushing in. Instead of using Vigil to hold off those entry points, you used a Vigil to spawn. Why would you do that with that utility? It seems like such a waste. I'm very curious as to what Yellow's thought process was. Obviously, K9 was waiting, or my man was waiting rather, and took him out. A position where he can guard that window playing inside of Piano and can look very far down that corridor. Gurmy gets a kill onto Chat. And now K9 himself taking some significant damage inside from Yellow. It's 3v3. The smokes from Capitao will go down. K9 watching the top of White Stairs, and Talon just wanders in, gets hit by the Yellow Mine, Gurmy adds to that as Yellow goes down, and now it's just Billboard, who, mid-plant, gets finished off by the SMG-11 of Era, and so far, Era all over Ronin, up 2-0 on their map.
Oh, man. It was the attack, man. They stalled out on the east windows. They didn't really accomplish anything. They were looking for picks, looking for kills, looking for the ability to force it out, but they got antsy, and they decided to get off the repels after losing one player and try to adjust and go elsewhere. You know, try to come from the top of red stairs, try to come from the skylight, maybe try and force out a plant just under skylight, distracting all the defenders. But ultimately, at that point, so much time had been lost and such manpower as well that it's near impossible to accomplish a push at a 3v5 with so little time. So, unfortunate for Ronin there. We'll see if they're able to change their luck, as it looks like they're actually going on to a middle floor defense despite not having one around yet. They might just be trying to mix up the operator selection, I'm guessing. We don't see a buck, so it might have worked, but there is a sledge on my man, so Era going to be plenty comfortable here. Talon bringing a cap can. What are your thoughts on Zotero? In my personal opinion, he's not going to be all that useful. It's likely, especially putting it on that that double doorway. If you enter on the far side of the cap can double doorway, you're going to take like 10 damage. I don't know. What do you think?
The one thing I really noticed at the start of this round, though, was that Era didn't really rely on drones that much in round number 1. Era's main focus was mostly on storming the gates and actually being able to get in. Now, what's going to slow you down? It's going to be barbed wire, it's going to be Capkins, it's going to be those trap operators that are going to force you to play a longer game. And I mean, that's something we'll see. I don't know how Capkin is going to work out. This could be a significant gamble that doesn't pay off. But for me, I think there's probably at least somewhat of a likelihood that it will slow them down enough where they will need to get on site with a bit more patience and methodology.
I don't know, man, because we saw Gurmy clear into wheel room and take out the pulse because he had 2 teammates droning for him. He was so efficient on that it allowed the freedom for just kind of free movement for Erla on that first round. So they do drone. I'm guessing they're gonna find these cap cans and be like, oh, well, there's cap cans. Check your doorways. And that's the main reason, right? That a cap can doesn't see a lot of play at this level, is because you see one of them and you're like, okay, I'll check every single doorway. That's communicated and relayed throughout the team, and suddenly Capcan doesn't detonate at all. I mean, it's possible though, of course, that we could get a little bit of free damage. I guess if nothing's working, and certainly nothing's working right now for Ronin, may as well mix things up and do something a little different. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens as Gurmy pushes his way into Cigar. He's going to have already cleared out one Capcan, but will he find the next? Yes, he will. And it continue to peel away at the layers of that onion, though honestly it's probably not going to matter too much. Half of the round has already transpired, no action so far, as the first real gunfight comes out. Yellow inside a Pixel, Gurmy inside a Cigar. Yellow's going to be able to fall back, nice and safe and sound, as he comes into the end of the white hallway, just going to continue to try and stall. Now this is the top floor, it's a middle floor defense, so the stalling has, I have to say, been successful for Ronin so far.
Nice. One of the nice new skins being applied by Bosco there with that beautiful top hat as he just crib walks his way in with that DMR, which does so much damage. And at the moment, Ronin with their backs to the wall, a heavy push from Era as they start to circle. And a nice play by Peng to be able to stave off Maman, and another will push him. That is the Ash of Gurmy, who does get down. Yellow's there to try and help his teammate, but can't get traded off, is caught in the crossfire. He is as Super, and now Bosco jump in. Yellow and Peng eliminated, and now Bosco working away at that barbed wire, and the Hibana starts to get the walls too. A smoke from Billboard finishes off Gurmy, but Gurmy was already down and incapacitated. He wasn't really a force to be reckoned with at the moment, nor a real part of the fight. And we hit the final 30 seconds. You still have your Capkin up. You still have your 2 anchors of both Mira and Smoke. But Bosco, who has been having a tremendous game so far as a Blackbeard, proves to be an issue, especially if they put him up top at one of those hatches, because he can look down with that rifle shield. He'll drop and stand and absolutely obliterate Talon, though he only had about half of his health. A C4 from Chap eliminates Super, and they just need to try to hold on to the site. Billboard, thanks to Talon's hole, is able to crawl right inside under that door, and the Mira takes one. Chap gets traded up by K9, but Billboard on the late flank. And that's a big heads-up play to make sure that there was an opportunity to rotate through that door inside of Reading Room. Major props to Talon. Billboard gets the kill, and Ronin takes their first round in Cafe.
And why did they do it? Because they stalled out for so darn long upstairs. That was definitely a successful roam. It could have been much better. I mean, Yellow's got to be kicking himself for trying to secure the kill onto that Ash. He could, if he had held onto the white stairs, played the angle into the white hallway, he probably could have gotten 2 more kills just playing that position. Reload your gun, you know, your Nella, come up with 50 more bullets, and be very, very happy. Luckily, though, the anchors ultimately won out the round because it was the last 20-ish seconds, and Era just kind of tripped over themselves when pushing B. They had the diffuser. They could have planted. They just chose instead to try and push out wheel room to clear out the rest to ensure there was no one in train, and that was not working for them. Now, Era going to be defending the middle floor. Unlike Ronin, they are forced to go here, though, because they successfully defended top floor. And obviously, if you're not familiar with Cafe, the bottom floor is, to say the least, indefensible. We've seen some pretty notorious teams and some notorious attempts at trying to defend that bottom floor, but almost every single time it has the attackers will bring out a smoke strat and plant, and that's going to end the round in their favor. So nobody goes to bottom floor anymore. I don't think that's ever gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen for a long time. Unless you're
5 seconds left.
It hurts, man. It hurts.
Haha.
But yeah, that is. We've seen some notorious attempts from like teams like Riverside. For those of you who don't know, to try to defend that bottom floor, it just doesn't work out.
No, and that's a lot. That's one of the main complaints of Cafe is how it does play out very, very similar.
It's linear.
It's largely because not only is it linear,
thing.
but it's those 2 sites only having really 2 viable sites that. A lot of the times, the way that you take the 3rd floor is the same way you have to take the 2nd floor as well.
Yeah, and there are 2 different ways you can do that. You always take the top floor. You can avoid it in an off strat. For example, you can just do red stairs all the way into wheel room, but the holes that are being opened here by Era in this defense make that just not possible. It really is going to throw a wrench in that plan, so people generally don't do that. So there are 2 ways to take the top floor. Pressure from the east windows, come down through the skylight, or take from the top of red stairs, push it to piano. And that is 9 times out of 10. One of those 2 are what you see happen, no matter where the defense lies. I mean, you put a Blackbeard on this balcony over here to the west, and he's going to be there regardless of what floor the defenders are, because he's either clearing out roamers or denying the anchors the freedom to maneuver. So, and then you're going to take top floor. That's it. That's what happens here. Peng has laid down some... What?
I was going to say, instead, they don't really look like they're pushing too hard on 3rd floor at the moment. I mean,
we could see something crazy.
They might need to because they're running out of time, but it did look like they were lining themselves up for 2nd floor.
I would like to see something on just the 2nd floor, but you have to be cautious of then people falling down from the top floor. There's such an easy rotation for the defenders if you don't clear them out upstairs, and they can come up behind any attack no matter where you're coming from. You're coming from the white stairs, you're pushing your way in towards the dining table. We've seen that happen before. Well, then you have to be cautious of reading room and people coming from above into reading room. My man from above, speaking of, is going to take out Billboard. Now, he's playing on the mirror window that faces towards piano, but he's going to eliminate someone who attempted to come from his flank on the east rappel. Now, very important here, there's only a minute left, and the attackers have yet to get a kill. Now the final defenders upstairs are going to fall back. K9 going to be able to heal himself up despite taking some damage from Chapstick, and it looks like the attack in Ronin has completely fizzled out. They've only just now taken this control, and only just now are going to be able to open up the holes that are also necessary to win this push. But in the last 35 seconds, it's unlikely to happen.
This is something they should have done roughly about a minute ago, happening right now, way too late, especially for a team that could find themselves down yet another round, and that's the kind of leeway that you can't give to your opponents. You can see K9, who'd taken some damage, was able to get himself back up, and I don't know what was going on there. Gurmy managed to take yellow, and super eliminates Chap. That was a big miscue. Bosco eliminates Peng as Talon is able to get his first kill. He takes 2 down. That's Gurmy and K9, but obliterated by Bosco, who is having one heck of a game. On site, the smoke finishing off the last member of Ronin, and at the moment, Era is only 2 rounds away from going to the Invitational playoff finals.
Marsu, can we see that scoreboard real quick? As you can see there, you're absolutely right. Bosco stepping away with this match. 8 kills. Everybody else is 4 or lower. Very impressive play to Bosco right now, and he's definitely a leading reason why Era are, well, up so high, 3-1. That is a significant deficit, especially considering that Ronin, again, they already lost on border their map. They are the ones with all the pressure right now. They're the ones facing elimination. They've got to step it up a little here. Now, they are going to be doing a very similar strat to the last time they went to this top floor, but they brought a castle this time instead of a pulse, and a mute instead of a vigil. So what that means is the strat that they were trying to employ will be more finalized. Less roaming downstairs, more holding inside a pixel spot. See that hole that they opened up in the piano wall towards bar? That kind of, you can see a long angle from pixel spot, which is the little corner with the wall next to it in piano that the camera is just panning over right now. That means that anyone pushing in through Cigar is going to be hit with a 90-degree hold all the way inside of pixel. That's a very dangerous angle to contest as an attacker. And see the castle barricade is kind of ingenious because, typically speaking, when the attackers see that castle barricade in Cigar door, they're going to think themselves, oh, that's good for us. We don't want to eliminate castle barricade because that means we as the attack do not need to worry about pressure from piano, which funnels them into a push towards the bar from the Cigar doorway. But then they get hit by again, that 90-degree angle inside of pixel, and they find themselves losing members without being able to counter it in any way. We'll see if it works against Era, though. I'm guessing Era's going to read that hold and break the castle and take piano control. But again, they have to meet now the mute of Billboard, who will be having a lot of information denial as well as trying to hold that red wall.
1 minute. And they're just waiting at the moment. Ronin situated in perfect order to try to greet Era, but one thing that we've seen before that Era has been able to do again is they've been able to get inside and get pretty significant control. Now, Bosco on Blackbeard has just been absolutely terrifying. And as Billboard gets flashed, it could be a pinch, depending on how Billboard is able to move. He'll retreat to that half wall just by the piano inside of Cigar Lounge. And my man is going to eliminate him. What a great play by my man there. Sam taking Billboard down. Peng on the stairs. Bosco gets kill number 9 onto yellow. Wow. He's going to try to just soften up that sofa as much as he can.
You know, we've seen some amazing coordination so far from Era through these two maps, and they're just keeping it going. They've got a 2-man advantage with plenty of time to force this attack.
Take a look at that. Still doing some heavy drum work. They're making me eat my words. Kill number 10 for Bosco. 11 as down goes Talon and Chap. And for Bosco, this is playing out the same as it did before. Gurmy sprints up and eliminates Peng on the white stairs. And that's all she wrote for that round. A flurry of action. As, look at this. Gurmy just makes it work to him. And we're on match point. Era looking indomitable at the moment.
I mean, it's that coordination, though. It really is, because Eras, they're not only droning out for each other, they're also addressing each defender with 2 people at once. They have 3 working on 1 guy every single time they find somebody. 1 in the drone, 2 on just hunting. And that's some serious... That is not only that, but they're not just coming from one angle. I mean, we're seeing people, for example, the roamer, the mute inside of piano, from Cigar and the piano windows was being pressured, as well as being droned from someone on the roof. That is insane coordination, and it's an understanding of what Ronin is employing. It's not as if Ronin's playing terrible, right? It's not like they're making egregious mistakes right now. It's just that Era is picking them apart at every turn. And every time Ronin tries to fall back and do something a little different, Era is ready to receive it. They are definitely playing like one of the top teams in North America right now, and I think a lot of the players on Era have been working for that for a long time. I mean, K9 has been in that position before, Gurmy has, Bosco has, my man has, Super, all of these players, they've got the experience. I guess except for Super technically. He's still hit one of his main, one of his first real bouts at this level, but all the same, altogether, Era is a well-oiled machine right now, and Ronin is having a lot of trouble.
Which is, it's funny because this doesn't look like the same Ronin team that we saw against Risky. This isn't the same Ronin team against Flipside. Now, they weren't flawless. Ronin did commit a lot of mistakes against Flipside yesterday, but I would argue that Flipside committed a fair bit of mistakes themselves.
Well, they had to have.
And it's not to discredit Ronin by any stretch, but for Era here and now, Era might be probably the highest amount of pedigree of any of the teams that are still playing, so it doesn't really surprise me that much to see how well they're doing at the moment. And they are, like I said, they're only 1 round away from potentially going to this finals to face off against the winner of either Vertical Gaming or Reckless. And of course, if it were to be Reckless, former member on the team Foxe would be very interesting.
I gotta say, Peng, my guy, you're playing Blackbeard. You've got a tiny little hole. He's gonna only see your shield if you're peeking that angle. Just peek the angle. You don't need to jiggle it. You know, you got a shield in front of your face. It might have been a kill there onto Bosco, as Bosco got too aggressive, just way too aggressive, peeking towards Pixel. He could have died if we didn't have the Blackbeard, unfortunately, A and D'ing on that window. He just missed the shot by virtue of his own movement. But that's just one opportunity of many that have been missed, and Yellow's going to rectify it quickly with a nice peek onto K9. That's your main ACOG, well, your only ACOG on defense, playing one of the most important positions inside of Cocktail on this hold, as well as the Yokai drone that will no longer be able to deny the defused plant once it starts to, if it starts to, come out. Downstairs, meanwhile, Ronin is looking for the roamers inside. That is Gurmy, who has a C4 and is ready to deny the plant from below once his teammates call for that. There is an IQ, of course, so there's potential for the hunt on those cameras, but we'll see if he has enough time, as time is ticking away here for the attack. Now, Gurmy sees the head of the Twitch and also hears the repel, but it's going to give away his position and take a little bit of damage. He trades it back, not nearly as much, though. And Talon's going to come out on top in that game.
One thing that did, though, is that wasted a lot of time. Talon now has to act with a bit more trepidation and can't, I guess, just cleanly be able to rappel up and help join his team. Now he's going to have to do a bit of entry fragging himself and clearing out those roamers. Now Bosco just inside of that east wall by Cocktail Lounge entrance, waiting as the Hibana charges will go off to open up a wall. He sees one, but Bosco can't land all the shots. He's had a good play so far, but Yellow gets kill number 2 with that AUG of IQ. He's super great. Poised. Yellow's been doing really well as well, and Super's going to try to get around that Claymore. It doesn't look like with his current position that he'll be able to. And Gurmy, boom, goes Chap. And Talon, what a rally by Gurmy to be able to take 2 down. Now Super jumps in, he claims Peng, and it's all up to Billboard and Yellow. Yellow has been down, so it's all up to Bill on match point. He's just going to run out of time. 7 seconds, and they know his position. He gets finished off by my man. Good games to both teams, but Era proving that they are good enough to go to the finals and will be the only Pro League team in our Rainbow Six Invitational playoffs. They win 2-0 as they take Cafe 5-1.
What an amazing match from Bosco as well. So many kills, and now that last round, Gurmy stepping up in Bosco's stead. It really was a good team effort and to pull together there from Era. And there you have it. Yeah, Gurmy and Bosco at the top of that scoreboard. Vicious. Every other player 4 kills or less besides those 2.
And the thing was is that you saw the players that performed the best in map number 1 were K9 and Super, and then you had Bosco and Gurmy doing that. Sam was pretty, was pretty consistent, but you saw when a couple members lagged behind, the rest of the team could pick up the slack, and that is a pretty significant portion. And the depth that you need to compete effectively at this level is that when somebody doesn't perform at what the level that you're expecting them to, the rest of your team has to be there to carry the rest of that weight, or else everything falls apart. And that's, I think, a pretty big difference between the top-level teams and those that are kind of getting there, but not quite there just yet.
One thing to note is that it didn't look like Ronin was, again, they didn't make the worst mistakes ever. They didn't make anything too egregious. They just kind of, they had a couple of little flaws, but for the most part, it was Era on point today. Everything was just perfect. Coordination, the droning, the hunting for the roamers, not only the roamers, but the anchors as well. The long angle play from Bosco inside of Piano. Now, partially that's because Ronin opened up those ankles and still tried to use Freezer, but at the same time, they made the mistake over and over again. Bosco, he had to be on point to be able to hit those shots, and he certainly was. So great props to Era for flawless play, I have to say, today.
And now Era, and one thing that could go as Era now goes to the finals, which will be broadcast tomorrow, is the fact that Era also was warmed up. They just had a match only a couple hours ago, and that, of course, could have been a significant factor, too. Let's take a look at the action that just took place on Cafe Dostoevsky, as we'll throw 2 highlights between the 2 of them, and pretty significant rounds from Era, and Bosco was an absolute monster, proving to be a wonderful addition to this team, and obviously he's hoping to go back to LAN at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure he will with the play we just saw. Honestly, I do think that Era is one of the top contenders to win these qualifiers. I seriously believe that from what we've seen. Now, it's possible that they could lose in the grand finals, but I don't know. They're really on point right now, and they only have to wait one more day, just a couple more hours, really, to play their final match, and then it could be all they need to just push forward with the momentum they have right now. I mean, Ronin again, they played well. They just couldn't play well enough.
And ENTRE was a team that was represented at the Invitational last year, finishing second to the eventual winners continuum back when it was Rogue's main roster. Now that was known as ENTRE back then. So same org.
It has some of the same players, I think, as well, because K9, I think, played at the Invitational for ENTRE when we had the last one. So he could make it back for the second time on the same org, but a different team.
So a different roster around him, same organization that he'd represent. But with that said, we're going to toss to a break, and in a couple minutes, we'll return with Vertical Gaming versus Reckless. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Take care and see you then.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Invitational 2018 playoffs. And now, as match 1 is done, we're getting ready to head into game number 2. I'm Elsh the Medic. It's been a while, and with me, the ever so glamorous Emzo, Kevin Tebecker.
It's been a while for us as well. Did some good finals together. Looking forward to doing that as well at Invitationals.
Hopefully so. But before that, we kind of have to go through these playoffs. You know, it's a formality.
A brief formality.
Yes, but through that, we're able to see which teams can go through. Now, we already had our first matchup ending today. Now for the second one, because we need to decide on what second team will be heading into the finals here to go into the final stage of the playoffs that will be happening tomorrow. So
I'd say nothing's been predictable at this point in terms of the NA. So
yes, especially NA. I mean, looking at the games so far, flip side being basically the top 4 just teams, out. You know, having a hard time or getting knocked out completely. This is not something you would expect at all.
No.
Then again, we had a lot of these upsets in EU as well.
Yeah.
So these entire playoffs have just been, you know, luck of the draw, basically.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to make Invitationals that much more interesting because we don't even know who we're going to get. We're not going to get the people that we expect to see there, and that's the point of this process, right? To see who really deserves to go.
And that's even more to it because we do have 16 teams this time. I would like to remind you, last year it was 8. This time we get 16.
Yeah.
So there's even more chances of an upset on LAN. Some people would call it the EGN's game that we saw in Sao Paulo as an upset to some extent.
Absolutely.
But here with 16 teams, it really is time to shine, especially if you're a team like Reckless, who came in through Challenger League.
Yeah.
You casted them a lot. They came in through there. They played their game.
Same with Vertical as well. So, like, I think we actually have 2 Challenger Leagues teams pitted against each other for the chance to actually go straight to Invitationals.
Yeah.
No Pro League season to go through to get to the finals. So I think this is a very exciting point for big fans of Challenger League, especially.
Yeah, because this is the point where we start talking about we need to take NA Challenger League seriously, much seriously than we did before.
Absolutely.
At least for some people. Well, as Challenger League
I
casters
think the Pro
in the
League
past.
teams need to take it more seriously.
Yes, that is true. They kind of just completely let go of what Challenger League has to offer, and now it's definitely coming back.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a lot of familiar faces coming through the Challenger League as well. From we have some former Pro League players, so.
All right, well, let's take a look at the bracket yet again to remind you what has already happened and what will happen in the future. ERA, of course, taking game number 1 with a 2-0 over Ronin Esports. They are already in the final, which will be played tomorrow night, and that will basically decree who makes it to the Invitational. Of course, in the second semifinal, the game that will go on right now, it is Team Reckless versus Vertical Gaming.
It's going to be a heck of a match. Like, the Era versus Ronin was already a heck of a one, but I think this one's going to be potentially even more exciting because I think these teams are maybe even more neck and neck than what we saw in the last one. I mean, the last one obviously didn't look so neck and neck, but I think this one's going to be very tough between both of these 2 teams.
Yeah, and you have to add to that the fact that Reckless played their game and won it a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So they're still on that field. They still have the momentum to carry it from, the high from, we played a game, it was a complicated game, but we went through it and we won, and we're still ready for it. We still have the energy. We're warmed up as best as we can, and now we go into our second game versus Vertical, and we want to take them out. Going into that final spot game is the most important thing that they can go for.
That's a good point because both Ronin and Vertical played late last night, but they managed to play then, and that means they were maybe less warmed up than we're going to see with these teams, or the Reckless in general.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword because, yeah, you can play before, which means you have, a dozen hours to prep or so, but if you play after, then sure, you don't have a lot of time to calm down after a game, but if you really did win in a respectable manner, in a way that you're really comfortable with yourself, then you can go on and power through that second game.
They're going to have a lot of confidence because it wasn't just a game they won, it was a game against Rogue.
Yeah.
And so you're going to be coming in here like, we can do this. We got this.
That's the thing that kind of breaks my heart as well, is because Rogue has had the obvious change of King George going to the sidelines and easily now moving in from Infamy previously into Rogue. And this is a team that we're looking at, we're like, okay, the next best, the top team for us here at least is EG and NA.
Yeah.
And then you have a close second with Rogue, especially with Easily coming in now. Unfortunately, that was not enough.
Yeah, and flip side out as well means like we just don't really know anymore. It's a lot of question marks going to this, but that's why it's that much more exciting, and that's why I'm glad we're here to actually do this from the desk and present like these semis and finals.
Yeah, because obviously we were not casting any of the games officially, at least, before the round of 4. That's why when you guys were watching before, it was on our own stream. So that's why, you know, some of the things were not obviously as professional as it is here. But we do have a first interview ready. So, Enzo, all yours.
We're going to be talking to Fox A of Reckless. So it should be interesting. So, Fox, how you doing, man?
Hey, Enzo. I'm doing great.
That's
How
awesome.
are you?
Glad to see you here, man. You've been doing a good job. You were last to join the team, though. How does that feel coming in like that and then making a big surprise upset to get here?
Well, I didn't really follow much of the challenger scene before having to look for being put as LFT. And when I saw Reckless was looking for a spot, I knew they kind of had the aggressive play style that I'm sort of known for. And they kind of just told me, you know, we just want to have fun and win. And they gave me roles that I was comfortable with, and we kind of just clicked, I guess.
So you felt pretty comfortable on that team so far?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think it's been showing. How did you guys feel coming out of that game against Rogue? Big upset, I think, for a lot of us here. Surprised to see that. I mean, I know you're a good player, but...
Well, of course, being the underdog is expected since it's Rogue and we were a Challenger League team, but I definitely think that we just had to be confident, and we just kind of pulled through. I think, like, at this point, everyone knows the strengths and weaknesses of all teams, so we kind of just tried to focus on our strengths, and I don't know, I guess we kind of came out on top.
So speaking of knowing the weaknesses of other teams, now that you know who won the first match, you know you're going to be facing up against your old team that you were on previously, Era. You think that's going to be potentially an advantage for you if you make it into the finals?
Honestly, I don't know. We've scrimmed them a little bit, and you know they've definitely changed stuff. We've changed stuff. I maybe like playstyle wise, but I don't think it'll help too much. I think it'll be a good game if we're able to beat VG and get there.
How have you guys been able to prepare for this, given that there's not been a season right now and there was no Challenger League as well to prepare just the ladder?
Honestly, we've just been scrimming and playing together as teams and trying to play other games too and kind of develop a bond between players. So we just kind of trust each other more. But other than that, just the ladder and scrims, nothing much.
And how do you guys feel about the fact that like the Challenger Leagues have kind of come up to this point where you've got Challenger League versus Challenger League right here? We've got a lot of those players coming up. Well, with a mix of former pro players like yourself kind of seeding the ranks of those teams.
I mean, I definitely think this qualifier was a kind of upset. So us playing against VG, I think, is going to be a good map, especially since we're both Challenger League teams and we kind of have to prove ourselves. And also, I think playing against Brad or Remorse is going to be fun since he was my old teammate like a while back.
That should be really interesting, to say the least. Well, thanks for stopping by and doing an interview with us. I really hope you have a great game. We're definitely looking forward to watching it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Always good talking to Fox.
Yes, always good talking to Fox, that's for sure. Now, we're talking about, you know, bringing in the Challenger League teams that have an ex-player or, you know, a couple players from the old Pro League teams coming into them. I think that helps them out a lot. I mean, I'll give the EU example of maybe now one up, the ex-Mysterious Monkeys. They obviously did play in Pro League for one season, but they get, you know, knocked out pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
Now that they have KS as well, I think that'll be a big help in Pro League. We see a very similar thing here with both teams, actually, Reckless and Vertical. And speaking of which, let's check out the roster of Reckless. All right.
Go. Well, we've got Fox on the team for sure, so that's there we go.
There we go. So Breezy, Fox A, Powerful, Double Z, and of course, Goddess herself.
So definitely a team that's mostly stuck together pretty well. Like I said, Fox was late to join, so he was kind of the fill-in there, as some people had kind of come and gone from this team. But overall, they seem to have been pretty cohesive, like for what they had going through Challenger League. A lot of good experience for them. Fox are the one bringing in that Pro League experience, but keep in mind, none of these people have LAN experience if they make it. They're not even Fox. So if they do manage to make it that far, it's going to be a heck of a thing, because Fox has got to know from his previous team, Era, once they got in there, they had a bit of a struggle on LAN, and it was a situation where they performed really well online, and Fox has got to be prepared for that transition if they make it that.
Yeah, it reminds me of quite a few teams in the past, especially for NA, really, at the early start of year 2 as well, where you would see these teams that would just top the board. And I believe Excellence back in the day that played so well. That was during Season 2 of Year 2 at Gamescom. They played so well online, came to LAN, and unfortunately could not play up to the same level, the bar that was set by all the other Pro League teams. And obviously in this case we're talking about making it to the Invitational, so just making it to that level is already extremely rewarding as a player and as a team.
Monetarily rewarding as well.
Exactly, $500,000 on the line. That's not. It's a tiny chunk of change.
Helps
right?
justify the time you spend.
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly it. So, honestly, I see it like Reckless has the experience that Fox brings, but will there be team cohesion around him to make him shine as a player with them?
I think he's the kind of player that can kind of perform on his own individually, which, depending on how you slot him into a team, is either an asset or a problem, right? Because if you can have someone that you can trust to do their job and you don't have to micromanage them, that could be really good if you put them on those right roles. And it seems like they've been able to do that with Fox, and I think that's really worked out for them, so they're here now.
All right, so opposite to Fox is Remorse. It's from Vertical. So, Enzo, take it away with the interview.
Now. Remorse, how you doing?
Hello, Devin. How are you?
Good. I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to see you guys here as well. It's amazing to see all of you guys coming up from Challenger League. All of you guys, you and Fox as well, both being former Pro League players, but then working your way back here. I think it's been great to see. So how are you feeling about all of that so far?
Yeah, no, honestly, I've been feeling pretty great about it. I feel like one thing that people have always kind of forgotten or maybe rather overlooked is that the majority of these CL teams that you see rising up out of Challenger or top of Challenger are pretty much comprised of like former pro players anyways, either one season out of pro or after a roster shift ends up happening. I feel like a lot of people ended up going into this kind of maybe not necessarily assuming victory, but rather very heavily underestimating the teams that they would play, because the vast majority kind of either seemed lost in how they were handling teams, like they weren't prepared, like they didn't watch tape on the teams, or rather that they just maybe took things too aggressively as if they would just end up winning the gunfights, but they're playing people that are at nearly the exact same caliber as themselves. So I imagine that'll probably change after this, since now we have, no matter what, whether Reckless wins or if we win, it's going to be a CL team in the finals for the Invitationals. And I don't know how the EU bracket's progressing as well, but I think they have some CL teams up high in there as well.
Yeah, it's been some crazy upsets all around. NA was like so seeming stable before, last night and today. And now that you guys don't have that to ride off of anymore, at least you're facing up against a team I think you should know pretty well at this point. So you're feeling pretty good going to that game, knowing your enemy at this point and knowing that they know you as well?
Well, yeah, we've already played them in the past. This past Challenger League season, we already played Reckless. So it's a team that we're very familiar with. We've been on good terms with for quite some time. I was speaking with Goddess just a bit ago, and I think no matter how this goes, I think we're going to be kind of happy with the results, just because I think both of us have actually kind of dealt with the whole assumption from the general, not all of the community, but just kind of the general assumption of just kind of being brushed off as like, oh, just a CL team. Assuming that like there's a giant assumption of like there's a huge skill gap in between the teams as if like it's impossible to ever beat a PL team on a map or take rounds off of them.
Well, I think
so
we've seen that so
been
far.
Pretty gratifying.
You guys definitely have, right? Both teams have, and I think we're all here excited to see how this match actually goes down. So I want to say thanks for stopping by. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to talking with one of you guys in the future as well. Hopefully, as you guys move forward into the next bracket, one of your teams.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you there.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Remorse. It seems a bit more talkative than Foxy, that's for sure.
Long answers to questions, yeah. But it's not the first time I've talked to Remorse in an interview. He always has a lot of good things to say, and so we appreciate them taking the time from their warm-up to be able to do that for us.
Yeah, and it's also heartwarming as well, seeing that both teams are on good terms. Like most teams actually are on pretty good terms with one another. They scrim regularly. They play against one another in Challenger League or Pro League, and other tournaments as well. So it's a fun game. May the best team win. And well, speaking of teams, Vertical Gaming has this roster lined up for today with Achieved, Nifty, Remorse, Crazy, and Swervin.
Now, Crazy and Swervin were actually kind of the replacement additions that they made, but I feel like this really stepped up their game. Now, they had a pretty solid play, a lot of Challenger League, and they finished pretty strong, but I think once they brought these two in, it really took them to another level, and we're seeing that now because they're here, and they made it. And I think we've seen some, especially last night, just crazy plays from Crazy, like living up to that name. And it's been amazing, and I think they've all been doing a fantastic job incorporating those new players, just like we were talking about with Fox. And I think it just goes to show that sometimes, we have a lot of shuffles in NA, but sometimes those need to be the right shuffles.
Yeah, a lot of teams are a bit too trigger happy, I want to say, when it comes to taking away certain players and putting in different ones in their positions, that they never stop to think, is this really a good choice what we're doing? And sometimes we're very skeptical for a lot of changes because we're not sure how it's going to fit in team-wise. But honestly, so far Vertical has been going pretty darn well, and this for me is the tightest game that we could have gotten so far in the bracket. Again, there are two Challenger League teams. They are very similar in terms of structure. The basis of the team is very similar, where you have mostly CL players with one or two Pro League players that have that experience as well to basically match against one another. It's going to be as tight as it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think this is going to be a quick 2-0.
Yeah, hopefully not. So let's head into the map bans just to make sure that we know which battlefields are going to be on for tonight. So where will we go? Honestly, I don't think we're going to see a Dostoevsky again.
No, I think that's been more of a rare pick, maybe just about as much as Skyscraper or Coastline. But I think there goes Skyscraper. I feel like obviously Oregon and Board are the big contenders, right? To see, we've still seen
maybe
some Clubhouse slot in there, which as I say that it gets banned. Some Consulate, watch that'll be banned next.
I think that'll be just one of that standard Oregon Consulate and Border, maybe either Border or Chalet.
Chalet we've seen a fair amount of, surprisingly. Like I felt like that was a map that had kind of died out for a while, but it has made a bit of a resurrection given the new ops and stuff like that. Not necessarily the new ones that just came out, but even the previous ones. Coastline off the board already, Cafe as you mentioned. So we are getting down to kind of the usual suspects, so to speak. So it's a question of, is Chalet or Coastline or Consulate probably going to go? I mean, Oregon and Border is such a solid map. There goes Consulate, Chalet it is. So I mean, we don't have a huge surprise on the map picks, but it's always a potential surprise on what they're going to do with these, especially these teams, obviously having played these a lot during Challenger League with each other as well, playing them during the ladder, getting up to this. They have a lot of ideas, but we have new ops in the mix. Some teams have seemed a little reluctant to use those as part of it, to incorporate that, but I think that's a great opportunity for these teams to really surprise each other, because the new ops didn't even come out till partway through the ladder itself.
Yeah.
So there's not necessarily a lot of time, but then again, it's dangerous as well because you've, scrimmed them at most.
Yeah. And we've seen some teams doing compositions that were a bit odd when casting yesterday. At least it was in EU.
Yeah.
Where you would see attackers that would bring a Zofia and an Ashe at the same time, and you're sitting there wondering, it's kind of a bit redundant to get too much of that 3-speed. Go too much 3-speed, too much of these operators that are designed to breach on a horizontal level
Yeah.
and not really on a vertical level.
The
where
upside
you
of some
still
of the
go.
redundant operators, though, or the ones that seem redundant, is it's allowing to find people to fit a play style that fits them more as well. So let's say they're always that entry fragger, maybe they could pick a different entry fragger. And I think now that we're getting to such a big pool of operators, it's really opening that up for teams to really find more unique compositions that don't just fit, okay, we have to do this strat because it's the meta. And I think the meta itself is like something that's maybe kind of not going away, but really diminishing in how much it impacts what people do in specific maps now.
I think a very specific strategy we saw was yesterday on Oregon, where it was a basement defense, and we saw a quick rush with a Glaz, a
Dokkaebi.
Dokkaebi, a Ying, and so you had the logic bomb deployed. The Ying had already thrown the smokes to block off defenders that are trying to rotate into the main hallway. And then the Ying just rushing down with the Glass just standing behind and protecting them. The entire thing was just extremely convoluted.
Well, we may or may not even see something similar, as Oregon's going to be the decider, surprisingly.
Well, we get to start off with Chalet, then
Yeah.
we go on to Border.
I think that's good. Start off the one that we've probably seen the least of these three this season. Well, I guess previous season. So this should be interesting. Chalet should be, I think, a good map to warm teams up. I feel like that one can tend to lean to be a little more one-sided. So we may see, of all the three maps, that one leaning more towards one team or another. In this case, I'm sure Reckless is hoping it's them, having picked that first.
Yeah.
So.
And I think if they're able to take control of Chalet, going into Border would be very much a 50-50.
Yeah.
And Chalet would be basically a decider of the entire thing.
It definitely can be, yeah, because Oregon can be just as 50-50. And we've seen both of Oregon and Border sometimes just go entirely to attack or defense and stay one-sided for a while. And that tends to kind of lean on who can break that first. But that, again, almost turns into a coin flip sometimes, and who can adapt the best based off of what they see. So it's really hard to say how this will go down, but I do think there's a good chance we'll see Oregon at least. And I know some people are sick of Oregon, but I've said this before, it's the one map I don't get sick of. I think it's just constantly renewed itself and throwing new operators in the mix. Like you said, with what we saw last night, or yesterday, was just a good example of how it can be very different with the new ops in play. Whether that necessarily makes sense or not, it's still working.
Not even counting new ops, we saw a Mira bathroom defense.
Yeah, that was unique. I mean, I think all these unique ones are mentioning were all KS on one up. So
kinda.
I'm expecting some interesting things. I think these guys are probably going to hew a little closer to the meta in terms of, I don't think we're going to see a lot of unique operator picks from either of these teams, but at the same time, they may be saving some of these strats that maybe they didn't even use in earlier matches, and we didn't get to see even how it went down against Rogue, so they may have even used some there. But there's a lot of possibility here, because what we've seen is a lot of times with the new ops, they're only brought out in certain rounds. So even when we see the initial op picks and stuff in the first couple rounds, they haven't been dictating what we've seen the entire match, because people are kind of bringing stuff out late. Vigil seems to be one of those ones especially that is either brought out once or twice, and it either works or it doesn't. We saw some examples of it working previously on Oregon, but it was kind of an oddball pick, and I don't expect to see a lot of it.
Yeah,
but
it's like the operator pick that you'll just throw in after like 2-3 rounds into the game. Just see, okay, can we actually do something with Vigil now?
Yeah.
Personally, I said it yesterday, and I will say it again. I'm not totally sold on Vigil play in Pro League just yet, or pro tier level.
It's hard to have it as a consistent pick, because once it is a little bit of a one-trick pony. Once people know you're doing it and they can find it in your setup, because they're gonna, even if you're visible, they're gonna see the distortion and know that Vigil's in play. They're almost always gonna find out during the drone phase, even if they don't drone very far into the building, which means you give away a lot of strategy. And if you're being a little repetitive in how you're using him, it is really going to lose its effectiveness, because he's all about element of surprise. So
it kind of turns into how we were thinking about Legion in our previous meta, where Legion would just, a lot of people play Legion as just a roamer, so they would play him a lot more like a Capcan, where he would run around. SMG's pretty good, you can get a couple frags here and there, and you would just throw down the goo mines to make sure that, hey, nobody's attacking from the other side of the map.
Yeah.
Whereas we saw the only effective way of playing him is to play around the sites and around your mines as well. And I think at some point, someone will figure out a correct strategy to play with Vigil. And
hopefully by Invitational, at least someone will figure out something. Maybe they'll see what worked and what didn't during these matches and get an idea of, like, all right, and I know Canadian, for example, because Canadian will be there on Evil Geniuses, has some ideas we'll probably see there.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to Stop talking and get into the game. Start the game already. So let's head into Chalet, game 1.
All right. See if they have any initial surprises for us. Can't imagine they're going to pick an oddball site, but some want to saw Snowmobile Garage. That has gone a little bit more in favor. It used to be all about trophy previously, and slowly teams more and more have started to like the downstairs. We are seeing an interesting pick of Crazy picking Mute, though, which has become somewhat of a niche pick still. I don't see a lot of consistent strategy uses of him. It seems to be one people try out, and either it works or it doesn't. But I think Crazy has been playing pretty effectively with most of his ops, regardless who they are. And I think I remember seeing some good picks with him even on Mute, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he's still going to use that very effectively, because a lot of people underrate his gun and think he's all about just the gadget. But I'll be interested to see where these jammers go. I like that deployable shield usage there. That's interesting. That is not something you see very often at all. But that might give them some more ability to say they want to lay down behind that table and not have their feet exposed. Although that is something that you can also use to your advantage, but if he has a little bit of a pixel peek, might be able to see towards the door, so we'll see. Obviously, it looks like there's one person that wants to enter over there, so I can imagine he might get some potential kills here, but a question is, will they try and breach the door at all? They don't have a thermite, so more likely just going to go for a wine cellar breach.
Yeah, and this is something that you kind of really have to think about, because you only have one hard destruction operator on the attack, and that's Goddess on Hibana. Otherwise, you have Foxay, sure, with the lifeline for Zofia, and of course you have the Buck, which means they will most definitely be taking control of the ground floor and then trying to buck the entire floorboard. Otherwise, with limited hard destruction and with the fact that you need to take out these hatches, Hibana kind of has to be forced into a singular mindset, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, I like that we've seen a lot more of the floor destruction and fireplace, and with Zofia on there, I can see that also being a factor in it as well, because those grenades can go down through those little cracks in the floorboards and actually hit a lot of areas, potentially even the Bandit, for example, that could be Bandit tricking in the door. So there's a lot of possibility for that if Jaeger's not able to stop that. Well, they do have Jaeger and Swerve in there. It definitely looks like a wine cellar breach here, but they're pushing a little aggressive on this door. Usually you don't see this much from the door. Usually they come from the car garage more often than not. So they're definitely maybe a little concerned about that shield that Crazy put up.
Yeah, the double flashes from Foxay are going to be taken out by the ADS. And you see the lifeline. Both shots have already been used here to open up the floorboard as Breezy comes in, takes a bit of damage from the drop. But a quick peek from Swerve and gets the double kill from the backside. Does get taken out by Foxay, but that was a beautiful kill. Hibana and Ying are down for the price of a Jaeger.
Most of the strat gone right there. Like, I mean, yeah, they still have some utility left and some ability to make this work, but you got to imagine those were picks for a good reason.
No, even the frag grenades now getting taken out by the ADS, but finally Remorse will get shot down. The Bandit and the Jaeger out of play. Now it's this makes it so much more difficult for the Blackbeard, because how can you move in when you have a shield and that massive table right next to you and a reinforced wall on the side?
Yeah, I mean, there's some grenades left. There's one grenade left on Buck, so he could potentially help with that. And Zofia as well, but that's the second kill for ZZ through those floorboards. He's making that fireplace work.
Finally being able to take down Crazy, so that's that nasty angle behind the table. Already getting shot down, spots the mirror as well, takes her out, but achieved. Will be able to get the kill on the Blackbeard. And suddenly we turn into a 2v1. Foxay still alive. No more lifeline shots to use here. ZZ has already gone below. Gets spotted, but will get the kill and achieved. And nicely done as the attackers recover from a huge blunder early on in the round with that Jaeger double kill. So well done.
Yeah, I remember when Buck was just considered unusable back in the day because of the recoil in a C8.
Yes.
And now you see him just such a lethal operator in the right hands. You've seen it from a lot of players, especially Eclipse being the most notable from NA. But ZZ just rocking that Buck there, using the skeleton key and the gun to very good effect, both from above and down below. And that's a really good start there for Reckless, just wrecking that room. So I think VG are going to have to adapt next time they try and deal with that. But I imagine they might switch up and go to Trophy Room if they decide that just wasn't going to work with that play. And they had such good operators killed in the beginning, too. They had a really good advantage and just couldn't hold on to it.
Yep.
But
Trophy with the 4K on the Buck in the previous round. Of course, bucking the floorboards extremely important. You would think that since they already spotted the operators and realized, oh, we just killed the Hibana, that's the only hard destruction that they have.
Turtle up.
Yeah, just turtle up. You realize that there is only one person that can actively destroy the floorboards at this point.
Yes.
Sophia had already used it.
Stay away from Buck.
Yeah, just stay away from the open sides of the floorboard as much as possible. But no, they were just out in the open, thinking too much about that one Blackbeard facing into them.
I would imagine they're not going to make those kind of mistakes again, I would hope. You know, they've gotten this far. They've got to have some level of adaptation to that sort of thing. So either they might play the upper side or they might just adjust to that. I like Fox playing this pulse here. He's going to catch Swervin being right there. I don't think he's going to engage, but I can see him do it. There we go. And still has the opportunity.
Here we go.
There we
Finally
go.
drops him, and you know, Hibana now getting taken out. At least this time, there is a thermite to be played on the attacking side here for vertical. Unfortunately,
The thermite's the least useful of the operators on this attack generally.
yeah, because sure, Hibana can use her pellets, and then she can frag as well. But then when you lose out on the thermite charges, then you're pretty much stuck with a 5.56, and that is not the best gun to use in these kind of situations.
Yeah, it's just now he's going to have to, for example, if you want to blow that kitchen, the hatch above kitchen, you have to expose yourself a bit more through that. And there's a potential with Fox on Pulse to be able to see for that. And so it's definitely more risky than just shooting some pellets in. But ZZ still coming off here, killing Crazy. I mean, I would expect almost better fragging from Crazy, but he's just not having it this time. ZZ is on a roll. Smoke, though, is a very lethal operator when you know how to play him well.
Yeah,
but that diffuser...
Diffuser been dropped outside, and now with the Pulse, they know exactly how they're going to rotate.
A C4 can just boom right out that window when you try and go for that. It's going to be risky. They're going to have to maybe clear some of that kitchen first, but they don't have a Buck. They just have a Sledge to open the floor, and that Sledge just got a nice kill onto Breezy, so that's a good start taking down the Roamer so far. Fox still playing downstairs for the most part, though. Definitely wants to use the verticality of his scanner to get some advantage here. Remorse on, as they call it, K9.
Yeah, the pretty standard spot basically for your Blackbeard, just to open up the balcony window and just try to shoot down, get him to you know, I understand the reasoning behind bringing the Sledge, obviously, but wouldn't it be just better to bring a Buck in these kinds of situations?
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. Like, Sledge is actually a lot less effective on this map because he has a lot more trouble hitting through both parts of the floor. Master Bedroom, luckily, Chief seems to be hitting pretty well, but Buck is, yeah, definitely a lot more consistent on playing on this map, for example.
Right, still having the Blackbeard to protect them in the back is achieved. Still opening up these floorboards with 44 seconds remaining in this round. And Nifty just finally opening up the master bedroom. Needs
way
to,
too slow.
Yeah, way too slow. And they still have not recovered the diffuser. There we go. Finally, the diffuser is picked up. 30 seconds remaining. Now he spots one player down below. Now there should be an ADS here to protect the smoke.
Nope.
Here we go.
There we go.
ZZ is out of play, and now the second grenade is going to get lobbed right into the Mira, and no connecting, only doing 40% damage, but Goddess will get one on for her own.
Oh.
One quick peek, Goddess gets the second, but will get removed by Remorse. Leaves it in a 2v1. Diffuser, they're going to try to pick it up here. There is C4 to get thrown out. No, there is not. Has to run all the way into the Blackbeard, but they're both ready for him, and Fox say, we'll go for the knife. Remorse going down.
Steals the kills. Seemed like they were almost a little frantic at the end there. But what can he do in a situation like that? I mean, even if he had popped off, he's got two and they're both pinching in for both sides. That was kind of, unfortunately, a lost round at the moment he tried to plant. So 2 up for Reckless. They are on a roll. Like you were talking about, they were still warmed up from earlier playing against Rogue. And they're showing why they maybe beat Rogue. They're definitely coming on strong. Now we are seeing what I was talking about, VG deciding the basement. Maybe that didn't work out so well for us. Yeah, we got some good initial picks, but that Buck was so devastating. We're going to go upstairs and bring a Vigil of all things.
Yeah, and there we go. Finally locked, achieved. We'll go for the Vigil. Honestly, you kind of expect where the rest of the setup is going to be for the Bandit, the Jaeger, the Ella, and the Mute, but seeing where the Vigil is going to set up and how he's going to be set up, that is an extremely interesting part.
This is a decent map for him, though, because I've talked about before the vertical distortion that happens, like regardless of which floor you're on, is the one thing I think he can do to get away from easily being tracked by drones. And this particular map, with the easy rotation between the 3 floors and the fact that people generally do it, means he has some potential to at least be able to get away from drones for a while. And he's got to know, for example, they're probably going to take it top down. So let's say he plays either middle or bottom. He's going to think they might be up there because they're going to drone in that top floor, go for the master bedroom entry, probably. And if he can kind of stay below that and trick them into thinking maybe he's around master bedroom, maybe he's in the bathroom, for example, in the tub, things like that I think could really throw him off for his advantage. In fact, he's kind of doing that right now because it's going to look like he's in the bedroom.
Yeah, and the detection range, basically, those that you have on your drone for Vigil is around 12 meters, and then it increases to around 8. But as you're saying, with that verticality, you really have no idea where he should be because of that 4-meter difference. It just makes pretty good difference. Now, Bank as well is one of the other maps where this can work very effectively. Crazy's just going to be sitting in the main garage.
Interesting to see. We haven't seen a lot of car garage holds like this in a while. It's an older style strategy. And also seeing a lot of deployable shields more than you usually see from both teams here. I'm almost surprised it's not the Vigil in here, trying to take advantage of that. Oh, there we go. Nice Claymore. But see, that he was detecting the Vigil, who was actually a floor above. And because of that, now he's not going to know, is there Vigil in his car garage?
Yeah, is there another person in here waiting for us alongside this bandit? They just want to trick us to get into. Here we go. Nate's going to go right on to Crazy, and ZZ will get one more kill to pad out those stats.
That's the second time he's killed Crazy right at the beginning of the round, too. We'll see if they can make this work, though. They're really having trouble getting in here. Despite killing Crazy already, they're still walking on.
Achieve from above. Using the open up floorboards to get the kill on Foxay. And K1A, extremely easy to control, especially in these kinds of situations, just popping heads.
Yeah. They know where he's going to be at now, though, in terms of which room he's going to be in. So he could potentially rotate out and up, but he's doing a good job holding this room for his team, and they're looking for him for sure. He's, of course, not invisible to the naked eye, so mostly just going to be able to stop drones. And he's sitting in a position where they can't see him easily without a drone, so looks like they're going for that top control now to try and get those hatches open.
Now Swervin still up top. There is a player on the opposite side there in the bedroom just waiting around to go for a quick peek against him. And the Chief is just going to be sitting down on the site now. He needs to time this ERC use correctly, or else he's going to be a sitting duck. He has 1 armor, so facing a Blackbeard as a Vigil is basically
that's a no-go for sure. But I mean, they've already getting desperate on time, 45 seconds in, and only 1 person has died from either side. This is actually a bad situation for attackers to be in, especially when they have barely even top-level control at this point. Slowly a little bit of bottom control. In fact, this is where they can get him out. Looks like Vigil's going to be in a bit of trouble.
Here we go, opening up the floorboards right below, and Nifty will get the kill on Breezy, taking out the Ying now. Already 1 smoke has been thrown down, but you need a move. You need the team to move, and simply Vertical is just baiting Reckless in, and Reckless is just moving in 1 by 1. Now finally both are coming in. Goddess will be going for the plant, and Powerful just sitting back with the Blackbeard, waiting for a nasty angle here. Gets the drop on the Mute, now waiting for the Vigil to come back in. Goddess ready for the opposite angle as she sees the drop. Nifty finally getting taken out. 2-3, getting shot a bit in the back. Now just waiting for the run in from the Jaeger. Well, even though you're Jaeger, you cannot really 1v1. The Blackbeard goes in for the quick mag change, but a quick rush in from Remorse, sprays down Powerful, still has Goddess to deal with. 2 players alive, the Vigil and the Ella. Ella getting dropped, and still the Vigil low on HP, goes in for the 1v1, but achieved. Will clutch this out. Goddess will get taken down, and the Fuser will get popped. The Vigil has worked. So,
what surprises me, though, is that they were able to get a plant down in a 4v2 situation like that. I mean, that shouldn't happen. You saw them all pouring in through the same spot. They could have also rotated up, jumped out the window, and tried to make an approach from there. They could have even used the openness of the floor from what Buck had done earlier. They just really didn't take advantage of any other avenues. They just barely made that thanks to some good shots by a couple of the players, by Remorse with that initial pick there, which they needed to get. Had Remorse not got that initial one, I think it would have been hard against those other 2 because they were kind of covering for each other. But overall, that was a good save there, and that is the first point on the board for VG, who looked like they were going to be down and out of it pretty quick, but that was obviously the smart choice, picking the upper site. But now that means because they won that, they have to try basement again, unless they want to get really crazy and try something upstairs.
Thankfully, it will be pretty vanilla. Foxay going for the Mute yet again. ZZ with the 6-2. Breezy kind of breezing his way through the game so far.
Yep. We'll see if this pays off. Interesting use of the Mute Jammer in the car garage. This is sticking up on the stack there.
Interesting part is the setup is completely different from what we saw before, where the side room is going to be opened up and then reinforced to the side. But where will these mirror walls go? Probably towards the garage area?
I'm not a fan of that setup too, because once you open the hatch above it, that's their feet exposed.
Yes.
And that's a situation where even if they're laying down, they're exposed more than they give an advantage looking up, unless the angle is so sharp that, for example, they can't see it very far. But still, that seems like you're opening up to grenades, all kinds of other ways for people in the dining room opening up the hatch to get you very easily. And instead putting the mirror window there, it's not terrible, but they're going with that deployable shield strategy again, and that's easily naded out. They do have a Jaeger, but you know some of the ADS is going to be used on the other side for Bandit. So we'll see how this works out, though. I mean, we're also seeing a car garage defense again, it looked like.
Distribution
What was that?
The whole setup is a bit odd, that's for sure.
We'll see what they've got in store, though.
Now, interesting part is that they're always keeping one player in the back. Before we saw the Jaeger, this time the Mute. They're just setting up from behind. Now, this is the perfect counter. Obviously, you bring in the Thatcher.
Oh.
Crazy will get kill number 1 now. That's the Bandit out of play. No Bandit tricks allowed. And now quick spray. Diffuser's going to get dropped. Headshot from Breezy. No more Nifty here. Now they lose out the Thermite that has only opened up one wall. Now, reinforcing the second wall is Breezy here. Has not set up his second Black Mirror. And there we go. It's going to go. Okay, so they basically they opened all of this up to just then see, okay, where will they actually push from? Will it be garage, or will it be all the way around? And that's
I like how they're using a double window, essentially, like long ways, so they can see when they're coming from the car garage still, but all the way out in the snowmobile, knowing that snowmobile's not a target. Now that they've killed the Thermite, see that once they killed that Thermite, that was the first kill. They go, okay, now small garage is safe. Now we can sit in there by the snowmobiles and actually defend from that. That's a smart adaptation.
Yeah, and you immediately saw the entirety of VG just pulling back.
Yeah, the problem is, though, they still got to watch Blue and the staircase coming down from Fireplace, but Achieved, already killing Fox.
And Breezy as well. Yeah. All right, ZZ getting one. Shibotmine's going to get thrown in, but he's going to nade himself, basically. Goes and gets shot down by Remorse with the Deagle, leaving only Powerful alive versus 3 now. Low HP, Crazy, but still trying to button on the Blackbeard here. And we'll take him out now. Diffuser's already been planted. Keep that in mind, and they're trying to bait him in for a quick kill. Just a couple of, a single body shot basically will take down Crazy, so they need this great crossfire. Unfortunately, will not work out as Crazy will get shot down. Little time remaining. Flashbangs are going to get thrown in, and the Havana is going to be the focus here. Flashed all the way out is Powerful. Now he has to run right into that Diffuser that has perfect line of sight, even from both sides. Goes in for the spray, and Swervin takes a bit of damage with the headshot right onto Powerful. Will clean the round up. Nicely done by Vertical.
I like the way Swervin played that. Just using the flashbangs as a way to delay and not pushing it till it was down to the last second and they wouldn't be able to, even if he lost that gunfight, it wouldn't have mattered, and that was the perfect time to push it. So good use of time there. I like that he rotated up. Instead of trying to engage him directly, which is what got the Blackbeard killed and the Thatcher killed, he instead said, you know what, trying to fight him one-on-one downstairs is clearly not working. I'm going to rotate up. I'm sure he rotated up expecting to have a teammate left, but either way, it really worked out for him. And that's now 2-2 between these guys. But now we've got to see VG try and make some adjustments to this snowmobile garage defense and try and make it work this time if they want to actually turn that 2 points in a row into a lead.
Interesting amount of Blackbeards have been picked up today.
Yeah, it's something we hadn't seen a lot of. Yeah. I mean, I expected it a little bit from some of the players that I've seen him play it a lot, but they're definitely rocking it today. So it's good to know that not all the operators like completely rotate in and out of Vogue. They're all willing to play different things.
Yeah, it's easy and achieved, both on 7-3.
A lot of Mute as well today for this. Seems to be working out. I mean, there's a lot of good choke points for drones and stuff like that. I'd almost like to see a Mute like Vigil combination too to really deny it. Yes. We haven't seen that so much yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that became a factor as well.
Imagine if you had him in library with a Mute jammer somewhere nearby.
Yeah, especially
and
library.
Even if you're defending Wine Cellar, that would be extremely interesting.
Yeah. I want to see some of these guys be a little ready to contest Fireplace, because I feel like letting Buck for roam in the Fireplace is a big weakness, right? Like, it used to be a thing where people couldn't control Fireplace well enough to feel confident using Fireplace for vertical play. Now that teams have figured out how to better control Fireplace, we're seeing that a lot more often, like we've seen in a couple rounds where Buck is up there able to play freely. We've seen other operators playing in Fireplace, just aiming down, taking advantage of it, throwing grenades down. But now that they know that they're going to do that, right? They know that's going to be a strategy. Counter that by even hiding someone upstairs or playing in a place where they need to clear before they can even use Fireplace. So at the very least, if Buck gets in there, it's later in the round.
Now, to add to that, I think a good way of trying something like that is to set up a whole defense as if it is a game room attack.
Yeah, so you can play someone on blue stairs, for example.
Yeah, so basically set up most of your defenses up top because they obviously can't breach too much in the wine cellar area.
Yeah.
There's quite a few strategies. You know, Rainbow Six is quite deep game, that's
Now,
for sure.
speaking of which, we do have Swerven upstairs on that Jaeger, so he's going to be that 3-speed that can get back to Stite on those blue stairs. Basically what we were kind of just talking about. So he's going to make it a problem. But looks like ZZ's actually using the dining room instead this time. Maybe he's realizing, hey, they're going to counter what I was doing last time, and has adapted. Powerful, though, is pushing very aggressively from the wine cellar side, and they managed to get this open, and that's always very useful, because now, as you see, pops that window. Now that whoever's playing the hatch, which was ZZ, can shoot through that mirror window if he needs to.
Just waiting for a peek from any of the defenders here.
Oh.
Here we go. He'll find him. Oh my god, what is that? Finally achieved. Will go down. The smoke barely having any HP. That will force VG to pull back and try to set up their second line of defense as Foxe is still watching the back of the of his team.
Good coverage.
Reckless.
Now, they've done the adaptation again where they rotate out into the Snowy Boogers, but I believe that was the other team that did it last time, so they're both utilizing similar strategies as each other, both playing Eames, for example, things like that. But Diffuser going down here with 4 people still left alive is a big pull here, but they've got 5 people to contest it, so I think this is probably going to go in the hands of attackers. Swerven. Oh, and then it's traded quickly and crazy.
Yeah, 1-1 trade here, leaving it in a 4 versus 3. Powerful still watching the Diffuser on his own. Goddess will get 1, will get 2. Easy will get taken out from from the top side by Swerven, and now beautiful crossfire, trying to open some fire here on to Breezy, but the AR-33 is more than enough to clean him up. And that'll be Reckless to pick up the round. This is surprisingly back and forth. Like, okay, we're saying this is going to be very close between both teams, but this is very close.
Yeah, and it's going so far a bit in the favor, I'd say, of Reckless just overall. Not that the score isn't almost tied at the moment. It was just tied a second ago. But we've seen, for example, VG just can't hold that basement. And that's twice now that they've lost it. So that's going to be a big point of contention and something Reckless can really take advantage of. We'll see if VG can really kind of crack upstairs. It looks like they were actually trying some different strats there. We almost saw Frost Mats come out. But we're going to go again with Fox on the... And I think they switched downstairs as well. So they said, you know, we're not going to play upstairs. We're going to do a different strat downstairs. Hopefully that last-minute switch is something they were prepared for. But this should be interesting. Nothing too crazy in the attack. Again, Remorse bringing that Blackbeard. We're talking about so many of the Blackbeard plays and so many mute plays. I'd say this is unconventional at the moment for the current meta.
Yeah, and I think if anything loses this round for Vertical, it'll be the Sledge.
Yeah, again, that seems like the Buck is just a better choice, but you know what? Again, like I said earlier, with the redundancy comes the ability for players to pick their own playstyle. Some people really like the L85, and him playing on that is, you know, that's still to his advantage. Both of them have grenades, both of them have floor destruction, and both of them have a gun that has individual preference to it. So I don't think it's a bad choice. But, you know, to each their own. Hopefully, we saw last time he has hitting the floors down, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. It is a little bit slower to do than the Skeleton Key, though.
Maybe we'll help them out to clean up these defenders at least one by one. We saw it before with the ability to use the Skeleton Key with the Buck. You kind of can very quickly pop it twice and then immediately look for one player that's just laying down.
Sometimes just use the Skeleton Key itself as the weapon.
Exactly. So this is why we're saying, you know, it is a much faster, more effective choice.
Until they buff Sledge to be able to throw his sledgehammer immediately after hitting, right?
I think we can probably find that in For Honor and not get Rainbow Six Siege. But here we go. Achieved will be droning in.
No Vigil to hide in there.
Yep, does have Foxe up top. That is a sneaky angle.
Yeah, I like the way he's using that, the top side of that to be able to get down to there. Normally they clear Master Bedroom before that, so that's actually surprising. Achieved is letting him sit there. Hopefully he can get away if he needs to, but they're not pushing it, and that's, I think, a big mistake on their side.
Now this is big dedication. They're using an Ella and a Mutant. Here we go. Going in to take down Achieved. No more Sledge to play around with. Foxe is still on the opposite side. And Library is finally going to spot out the drone. Bennett will take him out. Goddess. Now switching to another position. We'll find out. One, but Crazy's ready for him. We'll get the kill. And as the mirror wall is being set up, we'll protect her for just a bit here. Breezy will fall back and a quick headshot right onto him. Swerven will take him out, however, and it's quick trades between both teams, basically. But remember, the defense has to rotate all the way back onto the site, and there's actually nobody waiting for the attackers here because they were so busy roaming that they might just get pushed from behind as attackers.
You know what? I think they're going to take advantage of Fox, so just barely not having anything there. But yeah, ZZ and Fox being off-site, yeah, Powerful's in a bad spot, but they're going to take advantage of it. ZZ already getting 1 kill, nading his own site for nearly a second.
Just making sure that nobody will push that here. These holes
Look at that.
These are
C4's
so
down.
sneaky. Oh my god. He's going to even throw in the C4. Won't really hit anyone, but that is just 10 out of 10 for swag play.
I did not see that coming, but unfortunately for him, I guess they kind of saw it coming in the sense they were not going to be exposed to that.
There you go. Powerful spraying in and will drop 1, but Swervin will take him out. Remember, Remorse is down on the ground. Fox and ZZ still alive.
Oh, they could be picking him up.
Almost running into the Claymore there.
Oh.
Making a lot of noise. They know where he's at, but he's waiting for reinforcements. He needs that second angle to help him out with the push. Here we go. Going in for 1. Swervin will get 1 kill, and ZZ gets super low on HP. Diffuser will get dropped. Has not been planted. Swervin still alive. All you need to do is to spray, and ZZ will clutch it out. Here we go. Ella doing Ella things, and takes out the Habana.
Match point already. Reckless definitely dominating here, showing that maybe it can go back and forth a little bit, but they've clearly got the edge there.
So
ZZ,
well done. Just
their
holding
secret
back,
weapon.
realizing that I know where they're coming from. I already took down the first one. I'm low on HP, and I know that it didn't hit the Habana. So what I'm going to try to do is use that bomb site to my
Force
advantage.
them to come all the way
Yes.
around. I mean, I bet they wish they had a grenade or something at that point to do something, but even if they'd gone for a throw, they might have just got shot mid-throw.
Yes.
So that was a risky spot. It looks like some late minute switching, or last minute switching again. They're also going to go, yep, but we don't have to play basement. We're not going to. Achieved going back on that Vigil. But this is looking like a desperate play at this point. They did win it last time, but it was a little tough. So they're going to have to repeat that if they want to stay in this, but they've got to win 2 more in a row. So if they can make this their better bomb site work, which is plausible, and they can make their attack work, they're going to get a second chance. And then the upside for them is that we'll put it into overtime, so they'll have a chance to then go back to the same bomb site without having to go downstairs again. So math could work out in their favor here. We could see this work to overtime.
Yeah.
But at the same time, while they've defended this one successfully, that also means that Reckless know a bit more of what to expect.
Especially with the way that Vigil has played before.
Yeah.
So there we go. Goddess has gotten close with the drone. She can definitely sense that there is a Vigil nearby. So
5 seconds left.
in general, now they're kind of expecting which position he will be in.
Yeah.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
He could play it off. He could go to the top floor, but it looks like he just kind of wants to play it. I mean, I think his thing is he wants to stay so they don't know what his position he's playing in there, because generally he needs drones to find out. So even if they know he's playing in that room, but there's only like 2 spots you can sit in there that is invisible to the eye.
Yeah, otherwise in Trophy Room on its own, you have like 6 different positions that you can sit in.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult to predict where a player would be in.
Attackers have dropped the
So
bomb diffuser.
they are going to go for that top floor control that we've seen
Attackers
before.
have recovered their diffuser.
I think if we see ZZ able to get away with this thing, this is going to be over because he's just been dominating this play here. It'll be interesting to see the stats when the round is over, or the map is over. In terms of how many kills, there we go.
There you
13.
go. 13 to 4.
Over
Thank you
double
very
of the
much,
person
Marcia.
below him. Got us with 6, just nowhere near that. He's definitely playing to the top of his game.
Yeah,
And he's
honestly-
been carrying his team forward.
Yeah, honestly, they're just allowing him to play his fragging game.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if he's the reason they won against Rogue, but hard to say. We'll have to find out if we can find that game anywhere afterwards. But so far, they are managing to take this top control. They've got people even playing all the way down in the basement trying to guard that car garage again so that ZZ can't do his job from below. But you see ZZ instead attacking from above. So he's clearly adapting every time to, okay, they know how I'm going to play this buck. Play it from a different floor. And it's working. I like this angle down, how he's trying to take advantage of that. Same angle Fox was using. No one down there for him to get, though. That Vigil not easily seen.
It very much seems that the floorboard destruction in Chalet, like, we were talking about this right before the game started, that, you know, early on in Siege, nobody really used the vertical gameplay. Here, it is the complete opposite. That is the basis of this attack.
Oh, yeah, and you just see it becomes such a thing. I mean, these spots in the bathroom are such an important part of attacking. Like, this has been kind of standard for a while even, and I hate to think what this game would be like without that. The timing from Fox just, you know, maybe it saved his life, though. Yeah, he didn't see it in time, but he knows he's there. Take advantage of the LMG. Already reloading, maybe a little too early for that LMG.
Rico gets the kill. Headshot on a crazy.
Good
That is
start.
kill number 1. A bit late in the round, though, with 48 seconds remaining.
Good start, late start.
Yeah, late start indeed. Crazy The bandit has been removed. We still see the Vigil running around here. No, Nifty will get shot down. No more mute to use around, but you still have one in the back. Here we go. Achieved, utilizing the stealth skills. Vigil to get one, going in for the 1v1 against the Blackbeard. Swervin gets one, Swervin gets two. Now there's still one more right onto him, but ZZ will get him and Goddess as well. And here we go. It's Ruckless. I'll take map number 1 on Chalet, and I'll bring us forward to map 2.
Some just strong play all around from Reckless. 5-2. I don't think we expected it to go that, but to be fair, it did start out a little bit more tit for tat, and then eventually coming down to, okay, figuring out what we're doing. Because you saw the adaptation, especially from ZZ. Like I said, you saw him changing up what floors he's playing.
15-4, come on.
Yeah, he is someone that definitely knows how to play Buck. Like, he's channeling Eclipse for sure. I feel like that's just, I mean, that same level of like fragging power with Buck, because obviously he's an operator that has a good utility, and you see him used somewhat for that. And sometimes he can get some of those top-down kills. But these players that really know how to like embrace that C8 somehow took it from a gun that was just nigh unusable to just being a death machine. Like, just. It's impressive when I see players do that, because it takes a level of dedication to that operator.
All right, well, speaking of dedication, let's check out these highlights from this match, because definitely there were quite a few. Now, we saw the first run out here from Swervin. The round was ultimately won by
some good 2Ks from Swervin in some of these matches. ZZ, this was the start of his domination.
That was the 4K in the very first round on the attacking side.
Fox almost didn't see him for a second there, but managed to make up for it. Luckily for him, he was on that drone.
Heavy barrel on the UMP, by the way.
Interesting choice. I like these plays from above there. Chiefs really taking advantage of it, probably more so than Fox did. And this slowing Fox just stealing that last minute kill there. Feels good for him.
Yeah, the almost clutch, well, the clutch from the Vigil, winning out the round. The Jaeger got taken down by the Blackbeard, and the Habana was left alive, taking down one, only getting a bit of damage done on Vigil, but because he was able to get behind the trophy area, it helped him out quite a bit. Now,
that's where they killed that Thermite, and they were able to take advantage of the rotation, but still a tough round. A lot of fights over that same area of this map, especially that, like, it seemed like it was a little repetitive in terms of the sense of like how they kind of ended up fighting in the same areas, but the fights all went down so differently. See ZZ playing, regardless of which operator he's on, just dominating. Not that this is an unuseful operator, to say the least.
I love the awareness of Breezy there, understanding that there would be one player picking from that same area, and there ZZ obviously with the final clutch.
A nice play.
Took down player 1, player 2, and then the third Swervin running right into him. Unfortunately, his aim swerved a bit too much into that bomb, and that's not where you're supposed to be shooting.
Indeed. Overall, just a fantastic game. And a fantastic finish. Swervin nearly pulling it off here, but just not enough. Unfortunate for him. That was, though, I think, well played by some particular players, but overall, VG just didn't seem to have like that bulldozer of force that we saw from Reckless. And some great rounds. I hope Border is one that Vertical's able to kind of take it a little bit more. This is, as you said, one that's more of a 50-50, so that Chalet really could have been the decider. In this case, it's looking like it's leaning very heavily towards Reckless. But we'll see if teams kind of go defense heavy, for example, on Border, like we saw earlier even. We see just people just going defense, defense, defense on Border. So if we see one of these teams come out swinging on attack, I think there's a good chance we could see that team pull out ahead.
Yeah, it kind of always comes down to this on a couple of the maps, where since obviously the way that teams play is switching sides every round, I would honestly be very intrigued to see what would happen if, you played everything on one side, everything on attacker, everything on defender. Then this entire mathematical setup that we do is just, gone. Because a lot of times you have to think about it like when you're playing on Clubhouse, how this would go through, because, defense is more likely to win and how you would be set up, etc. Same thing for Border.
Well, in this case, I think Achieved leaning too heavily on Sledge was a poor choice here, just because we know what Buck is useful for, and it's not, you can't sledgehammer up.
10 seconds
And
to go.
you know what I mean? Because you want to be able to go into, for example, kind of where Fox is at, and then hit the floor from below to be able to open that wall if they've got a bandit, for example. In this case, they don't have a bandit, so maybe they lucked out, and they have a Twitch anyways. But it's a situation where I just think Buck is clearly the better choice on this map, despite what we were talking about with Shelly. But Shelly also had a similar situation, attacking from Car Garage up below, which we saw them try to do on the Vigil, for example, by ZZ. So I hope Achieved can pull it off here, but they did lose the last map, so maybe he needs to show a little adaptivity and take a page out of ZZ's book.
Yeah, and it really does depend on how you're trying to set up as an attacking side. If you're going through the entire floor as an attack, then Sledge is the better choice. But if you try to basically open fire from above and use that verticality, then definitely Buck would be the better choice in my mind. But it all depends on how you have this set up. Now, when you have a Hibana and a Thermite in this sort of attack, it most definitely will be going on a more horizontal lane.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that Thermite's more useful when you can open it up. But the smoke going down early, if they can finish him off, that could be really good for this attack.
Yeah, that would be great early pick. Now, ZZ on his own security room. Now, this is an extremely important spot to hold because this gives you a line of sight into the fountain area. Now, the one player that can actually take down the Blackbeard very fast, the Ella, will get taken down. Crazy with the FAMAS across the map. Now, trading the Sledge for the Ella, a pretty even trade for both teams, but Crazy will be able to get a second kill on a Breezy, taking him out finally.
Crazy's really making this work.
Smoke has been put out of his misery finally. This is not looking too good for Reckless.
Yeah, they're definitely making a good dent. Had it been able to delay it a lot longer in security, this might not have worked. But yeah, getting down, taking out security was, or the CCTV was a big part of making this push work. And now that the wall's open, you see a lot of pressure on Goddess to get stuck in that spot. And the Jaeger can only do so much from there. Usually that's why you have the Mira playing there by the window. Having the C4, for example, Goddess has no C4 on that Jaeger.
You already see Foxy rotating with the Valkyrie just to stay below with the C4. So they want to set him up. They realized, okay, we might have to fall back and play for a retake.
Yeah, 50 seconds left, though, and 4 attackers versus 3 defenders is a good position to be in, but they haven't made progress into the bomb site just yet, and it doesn't seem like they've completely cleared out the lockers, which is what they need to do to make this push. Remorse, though, trying to make that work with a nice flank on that, perhaps. No, this is from the front side. Trying to pinch the one out of lockers. Got us trapped between them. Like, it's not going to be easy position to get out of. There we go.
Here we go. Speaking of which, Goddess will get shot down. Did not expect the Blackbeard to be waiting for her there in the doorway. Crazy will go for the plank finally on the Twitch. Now, though, rushing in and swerving will take down Foxy, leaving only Powerful alive. And he's he might be powerful, but not that strong. Nifty will finish him off with the Thermite. So, well done, Vertical. They basically dismantled Reckless. One by one, they shot them down. And you did not see the cohesive Reckless that we saw on map 1.
Yeah, they felt a little spread out, and when they had the time advantage, they weren't continuing to burn it. You had a situation where they should have been continuing to try and keep them outside, but losing the smoke early was really kind of what made that, what did them in that round. And I got to give credit to Crazy early for his early picks. Really helped because they were starting to lose a lot of momentum. He got those early picks, and then they were able to kind of get in, make some progress, open up the wall, get set up. They were still a little slow after that, but not having the smoke to deal with just meant they just had to wait to bait Jaeger out of those lockers and then push in. Saw him do that, execute beautifully, and a well-deserved win by VG. Hopefully they can keep it up. Like I said, though, if they were able to crack attack first, it's a good start.
Yeah,
there's a good chance VG could take this map 3.
Yeah, that is very much a good start. Now, they had 2 players before that were focused on CCTV. You had the smoke that got shot down from the side. Now, since he was dropped to the floor, he couldn't watch the side angle for Ella. And even though Ella might have won that 1v1 versus Blackbeard, she can't really watch all angles at the same time.
And that's the hard part of holding that room is you need 2 people for that reason.
Well, might have been a better choice to have the Mira there, but, you know, hey, hindsight is always 20/20. Right?
Yeah, and we'll see how they adjust in future rounds. Looks like they're set up for potentially heavy office side defense, which is good because you see drones coming there, you see Fox on this side. Looks like they might be probing to see if it's worth attacking that side. But this is a map where you can switch up pretty easily.
Would only like to see where the Mira windows are set up. Okay, there is one set up in Fountain, so a pretty standard one, but where this is the
Looks like,
second one.
the A-wall there.
Okay. So there's one in A-wall and one all the way on the opposite side, so they can just look through. Maybe their opponents try to push through, take
still
CCTV.
I think the one in the small office overall probably statistically works more often than those other ones, but maybe he's got a good strat to use it with. So we'll see. I love this grenade from above trick. It's always a fun one to see to try and get in there.
Oh,
and there
here we go.
That's why. And that's taking down the Ella too. That's a great start. Taking down Remorse early. That's going to give Fox a nice advantage going into this. And you'd think Remorse would know about that spot, and he probably does, but just did not think he was going to have to deal with it right then.
That is such a
Unfortunate.
terrible start to the round for it.
But this is a great start for Reckless to try and come back from that lost round.
So Fox is still on the outside now.
Oh,
This
the Claymore.
is here we go. Finally working out. ZZ will get the kill.
Fox
the
is a little cautious now, though.
Of all operators, the smoke goes in for a run out to get the kill. It is a very precarious position to have yourself basically hanging off there, Foxy.
Yeah.
But
But if you do the Claymore there, it was fantastic bait.
oh my god, this round is not going too well for Vertical, that's for sure.
No, and they were set up for an office stake, and that's where it's coming, but they just don't seem enough prepared for it. And Fox cracking early started off, but Crazy at least catching Breezy there definitely helped turn things back around because he's still holding off that side.
Unfortunately, those Ying grenades, Candelas, did not go off correctly. Unfortunately, and did leave Crazy in a great spot to basically fire back. Ying was a bit too far away as well to do the correct damage. Now Thatcher is going to throw in an EMP. That is a nasty spot from Crazy, taking down ZZ. The second side here of the wall has been opened up. Crazy going in for the run up, maybe spotting the Thermite on the floor, but Goddess will be able to take him out, turning it into a 3 versus 2. Mira still alive and watching a connector. The beepers. Still Foxy from below with the sledge and powerful all the way in the outside of the balcony. Now, this is starting to slow down quite a bit, but remember, there's only 30 seconds on the clock, and there needs to be a kill here for the attackers to get onto the site. They both fell back.
Slowing down big time when they have the attack advantage, 3 players here, but they're fighting 2 hard players. There goes one of them. Fox with a big advantage now.
Oh, run out immediately from Swervin. Taking one out. They need to hunt this. 10 seconds remaining. The diffuser has been planted, but it still has a ton of HP. Can Swervin clutch this out? Wants to go for the diffuser and fakes it for once. Powerful going in for it, and Swervin will clutch it. The 3K and the diffuser destruction at the end. What a fantastic play from the Jaeger to win back a round that should not have won in any way, shape, or form by VG.
We've seen a lot of Swervin and some good clutch plays there where he'll get multiple kills, and he seems to be able to really collect himself when it comes to fighting multiple opponents, and I think that's why he won there. We saw this multiple times where he's getting those 2Ks in a row because he's able to do that, because he's able to engage 2 people at once. And yeah, he didn't get the diffuser before it got planted. Maybe a half second earlier, he would have saved himself a lot of trouble because he could have just bought time after that. But winning that gunfight, baiting that out with that hit, nicely done, and VG coming up ahead here, winning attack and defense. Like you said, though, it was a little shaky. Hopefully they're not going to fall for the old nade from the roof trick again next time they're defending, but they got to defend downstairs next time because they won that.
It's a pretty rough Christmas present.
Yeah, coming down the chimney. Old St. Nick. So... nice start for VG, though. I'm glad to see them come back because I do want this to be nice and tight. Whether we make it through maps or not, I want to see a good back and forth between these teams. As we said, we've got a lot of experience fighting them each other in Challenger League. They've got to know each other's tendencies, and sometimes I imagine they're taking advantage of that. But they also have some new players in the mix that weren't necessarily there before, in the case of Swervin and Crazy, for example. So that should be maybe throwing them for a little bit of a curveball, especially Crazy, who a well-known good fragger. Although in this case, ZZ is my man for that.
All right, this is pretty... this is one of the other strategies that you can do. You can either focus on the fountain room, or you can focus on CCTV, where you have the mirror wall that looks all the way down the hallway, but also into the open sides here, all the way through into fountain area by the open walls. And that is a fantastic wall, but it relies so heavily on you holding CCTV for the entirety of the round that if that one area is lost, which is fairly easy because of the amount of doorways that you can open up.
He's just stacking up those Twitch runs. Remorse with an early kill, too, under the smoke again.
Oh, my God.
This is what we saw last time. Last time it was Crazy with that kill, but this is just... it's just working out every time with that.
Randomly
He's like, I'm going to need to take my shield off at this point. I don't even need it.
Yeah, nice. All he did is just fire a shot because the angle is kind of... it can only be there. And unfortunately for Reckless, there is no bandit to deal with, so... here we go.
The trickery from ZZ. Nicely done, but there's another nade to follow it up. Achieved, manages to make it work. So, he's playing the buck now. So what we were talking about earlier, finally switched off the sledge. I got to give him props for that, making the adjustment he needed to do. And Achieved going to go potentially from strength to strength here. Especially if they can win 2 attack rounds, then I'm really favoring VG to take border.
Crazy will move in. And remember, there are so many of these walls that have been opened up because of how the defense was set up all the way in the back of CCTV.
There's the mirror this time, but then there goes the Jaeger. See, that's why Achieve needed to beat that Buck. Taking down Jaeger like that, who's playing way too close to the wall, leaving just the mirror, who dies right after. It's all on Fox against 5. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, Swervin left, holding on onto Fox. We'll take him out with a bearing 9. That is a clean sweep round from VG. Honestly, that was as clean as it can get.
Yeah, no, 5-man, flawless round. VG clearly showing
took any damage that entire round.
No, and this was their map pick, and now we see why. The other one was Reckless's map pick. Sometimes we see a lot of switcheroos where one team wins the other team's map and vice versa. So far, it's looking like both teams picked their maps for a reason. And now we're finally going to see, for the first time in this match, Ventilation Room. This is going to be interesting to see, because if VG could win Ventilation Room, good luck for Reckless bringing it back after that, because they could show they could defend both and attack top consistently twice. That's a really hard position to be in for Reckless.
Defenders, protect your bomb.
So it is on them absolutely to crack this nut on this round.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's see how this one goes in, as we have a castle being played out for the defense.
Definitely normal for the site.
Of course, we are playing on the lower site, so you'll probably be seeing castle barricades set up on at least 2 or 3 of the doorways here down below. You'll be leaving one until you decide with information where your opponents are going to be coming in from, and then you can use that final castle wall basically tell you out.
Yeah, and there are definitely multiple approaches. You see ZZ taking his drone into the bathroom early, suggests to me they could come from the teller's side for a push.
Okay, there we go. Armor panel is going to go in here, and this actually attacking a site like this where you know most of the time you're going to see a castle is a good spot to go for a Zofia, actually.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's an easy open and you still have one left. And unlike Ash, you get more than 2 grenades to use. They're just 2 different kinds.
Yeah, you can go in for the grenade, and then you can use the flashbang as well, just to try for a quick push. So overall, would be a good good pickup to go.
Now, I want to point out that we're seeing a Glaz just jumping right in. We haven't seen a Glaz yet. Powerful, swinging in like Batman right there, almost getting a pick early too. Like,
this is year 2, season 1 Glaz.
You're right. The super strong ninja Glaz. So far, though, this is looking like a pretty good take from the attackers, because they're getting in and getting a lot of ground uncontested, which is obviously, I mean, they're playing a more turtle strategy here, although Bandit throwing his face out there was not a smart idea. And that's ZZ getting that kill into Crazy. That's definitely going to help this attack work. I'm favoring this attack to work out so far.
Yeah, so they're going to try to go in. Here we go. Opens up the mirror window. And that is so important, because they're relying on boxing in as much as possible of this site. But now with the top side getting slowly in control.
Yeah, and that gives Glaz the ability to use that window as well as pop the castle doors. Yeah, you're right. It's just opening up, blossoming like a little flower of death here.
You're trying to open up the top side, but at the same time, use the glass to prevent any aggressive rotations from the defense. So
absolutely.
Even more and more of this utility, the Twitch. Honestly,
he's just getting away with it.
Not just the fragging play, but also the smart plays by using your drones correctly. That is exactly what you want in a player.
And I like how they've got Breezy over here on that Ying, because that's such a tight room. Good luck dodging those Candelas. Looks like they're going to try and flush him out. Now, see, he's got that, like you said, to cover that rotation if he tries to go out when it gets Candela. But Fox taking down Achieved Sledge versus Sledge player there with a nice kill early on. That's going to weaken him. And then Powerful does get that Glaz kill. Now looking good for VG.
Fox a grenade throw all the way inside the server here from the workshop. Actually downing the Mira with the splash damage, and Fox will just run in with the SMG-11, get the final kill. And this is a full rebound of what we saw before, as Reckless just absolutely demolished VG on this defense. This site was not set up correctly at all, and I think it's all because they did not have enough manpower set up on the top floor. And as soon as that was taken out, nobody's actually trying to deal with the glass. So you had either one player up top and the rest were set up on the site itself, and nobody tried to go, you know, a bit around or maybe hold a flank through just in case.
Well, like I said too, they were really set up to attack that properly. They had a lot of destruction to deal with the castle barricades, for example, and take advantage of them, bring in that glass, stuff like that. And they gave up way too much upstairs too early, like you were saying. They weren't ready for that top floor defense. Gave it up way too fast. That bandit pushing out to his death obviously didn't help. And it was just, once they didn't burn any time at the beginning, that just gave them so much time to just set up and collapse. And then also Fox went pretty ham once he got into servers and workshop. So that helps as well. You saw him with the 5 points there, top fragger for his team.
Grenades have been on point, really, for both teams today. So very much impressed. I like the way you know, you can utilize the new
This is why I feel like Jaeger needs a buff, though, because just grenades have gotten so good now, and then they buffed the grenades in giving them more of a skill ceiling increase, and I think that's definitely paying off, and that's why you see so much Sledge, so much Buck, like just for the utility and the grenades, because they work with each other, right? When you could open a floor and throw a grenade through it, or open a ceiling and throw a grenade through it, it gives you a lot more accessibility, and they're absolutely capitalizing on that. Fox, though, looking like he could consider a run out, something he used to be infamous for doing back in his lunatic days.
Hasn't found anybody just yet. Cannot spot the Habana all the way from there.
Looks like he was hoping. You know, that was a chance freebie. He might be able to make it work, might not. But now he's got that window open. He's got to keep that in mind. Achieve's back on the Buck again. Looks like he's giving up the Sledge, so that's good. And he's using it correctly. They're opening up that office wall. That's what Buck is really good for in this particular site for this attack. And you see all of them just stacked up here to attack the office side. So I like that Achieve's going to rotate around and try and contest something else. He doesn't need to all be focused there.
Yeah, Remorse just playing all the way on the opposite side of the balcony, just making sure nobody will push him anytime soon. Wants to open up the windows yet again. His teammates setting up in position. Still no kills here as we break the 2-minute mark.
I like how they're taking map control, though. They're definitely using this to try and get as much accessibility as they can. You see everyone kind of starting to turtle up a little bit, but no one on the defense really moving around all that much other than a few roamers upstairs. I think you saw ZZ running around here trying to figure out the position to contest this. But they seem to all be really settled in up here in this middle area. And there we go. That's the smart play, attacking down here while they're all turtled up upstairs.
Yeah, and this is the counter we saw last time, which is too much dedication onto the top side.
And they've even split up a little bit too, so they can put pressure on both sides. You just had, for example, Remorse upstairs on the Blackbeard to continue to put pressure on this top floor, so they can't just back off the site without risking getting shot during rotations.
3 players from BG are walking in here as Foxe is all on his own on the site, or well, basically above the site. I'm just gonna go through these cameras, making sure nobody is holding him back from the balcony area. And he's delaying them. He is buying his team so much time, and now the first smoke canister will get popped. So perfect timing, almost perfect timing. Oh, spots Nirvana's rifle here. Stretcher go in for a quick spray. Unfortunately, as he dips in for the reload, Swervin will be able to land the shot and take down Foxe. So that is final kill number 1 for VP.
A wonderful dance to watch, though. So far, though, that's the only kill in 30 seconds left. This is actually looking good for the defenders who have been able to successfully turtle because the attackers just didn't make enough progress, but they are set up for this push. Smoke canister not covering a lot, but ZZ taking advantage of all the chaos to get 2 kills already.
There we go. One more for the smoke here as Breezy delaying them and being able to get the kill. Now, one drop, though, as Chief gets one and ZZ with a second. This is powerful. Will land the final headshot and cleanup achieved from VG. Reckless back in the game here, waiting for the Buck to peek it.
Seeing that gun
smashing his face into the wall.
So you wish your guns were shorter. That's why SMGs are great, right? Because they're not only lethal, but they're very short. So that was a nice turn of events because we had Reckless, who was seeming to struggle everywhere else, win on the bomb site. That was the weaker bomb site that even VG couldn't successfully defend. So that's good. Now they just got to get their act together upstairs. We can see them change it up. So far, they're going to do their attack upstairs first, but they are 1 point away from match point. So essentially, potentially, 2 points away from losing this particular map if they can't make it work here.
Yeah, Reckless really do want to get through that fourth round. So for me, if Reckless are able to win this attack, then it's very possible that they will sit on a map and match point. after that and win the round. You know, basically win that 4th round. Put it on the scoreboard, make it a 3-4.
It's possible. We've seen VG consistently attack the top floor twice, so there is that, right? Because we know Reckless can't play the top floor, right? Because they just won the bottom. I mean, can't play the bottom floor because they just won it. So they have to be the top floor unless they're going to do something crazy like customs defense. So it's a case where VG, even if they don't successfully defend this and it goes to a 3-3, there's a good chance of it going to 4-3 in their advantage because they've successfully attacked the top floor twice. So, like you said, though, it could easily go to overtime because we could easily see Reckless, finally figure out after that, how to successfully defend the top floor, successfully attack the bottom floor again. Yes, which they have done. So yeah, I guess the math works out based off past history to go to a 4-4 overtime.
Yes.
Thinking about it now. But we'll see. They're getting control of CCDV pretty much uncontested here.
Which is a bit odd.
What?
Oh, what? How is... What?
It didn't go off till after he moved, and I think he was counting on that Elamine to save him.
Yeah,
and
no.
it certainly did not.
Goes in for the reload. There is nobody in CCTV to contest him, and he just walks in.
Hey, how's it going?
And gets the kill on Remorse. No more Ella here.
Unfortunate.
In play. All right.
Bit of a miscalculation by Reckless, or VG.
ZZ will be droning in. Just have the sledge to basically push in depending on the position. Fox will go all the way up top.
Oh, he's going to throw something different this time.
He's going to drone in. All right. Here we go. That's a dead body. We spot the second one. Going to probably angle this grenade throw here. No, he's just going to fall back and now set up, giving information to his teammates.
They've got a lot of map control, but it doesn't seem like they're putting a lot of actual pressure from it. Now they're just finally going to go into this room here, clear up some of the barbed wire.
There we go. Smoke is going to get thrown right into that mirror wall, and now Candela is going to get thrown in. ZZ will get the kill on the bandit finally. Only leaving through alive the Jaeger, the Mira, and the smoke. Sea Breeze is still holding in with the Ying. 2 players, or actually all 3 players are in and around, and they can hear him from behind these walls. Now, the important thing for Reckless is that they need to have 1 player watching their back, or this is not going to go too well for them.
So far, though, they're turtling up quite a bit here. And that stops some of the attack.
God. What was that? Swerving through the smoke and through the krill there. We'll get 1, and we'll get the second as well. Powerful. Engaging in a very odd position there.
This is falling apart pretty quick here. Now down to a 3v3 and 50 seconds left. If they could just delay a little bit longer, pressure is going to be on the attackers, and they might have even burned all their Candelas already. Let's attack. There's Nifty.
Doing 1 more quick spray, but Goddess will retaliate, taking him out.
Ooh,
Here we go.
Fox.
Fox here from behind, turning it into a 2 versus 1. They're still achieved alive on the smoke. Not impossible to do with that SMG-11, but it's all about baiting, and the frag will get thrown in right in front of Achieve, taking just a bit of damage here. Foxy will actually drop below him. Alrighty. Now just pulls out the SMG. Diffuser's been planted. We'll go in for the final kill. I mean, honestly, what can you do in that position? The angle and the timing for the plant were just a millisecond of perfect.
But I like that. He used his own grenade to push him off, go for the plant, and then just cover it, and then use the hatch as well. That was just really well played by Fox.
That was extremely good thinking, basically, in a clutch position, because a lot of players that are set in a position like this just end up tunnel visioning and not understanding what's going on. Okay, I planted, now I need to contest, now I need to 1v1. No, he's calm and collected. He's planting, he already threw the grenade, he knows that he won't peek him just yet, and then he drops down and knows that he has the advantage. Because
I like how he stays off first and lets him kind of stick it.
But that's the thing. You have another angle that you can diffuse from, and I don't know why I was trying to diffuse.
Panic choices, I guess. Speaking of interesting choices, Fox this time actually going with a Frost. That's the first time we saw it. We saw it almost picked earlier, but now he's actually going to use it, and that's really going to potentially throw them off here. I can't imagine they're going to... I mean, it's not like they don't have drones, but it would be interesting to see someone get bear trapped, because it's not something we see too often these days. These windows being a good candidate for as well. Look at this, Swervin with 8 kills, almost saved that round thanks to some of those. And then Fox and ZZ dominating on their team, just a big gap between them and the next one's down. Crazy and Remorse though playing pretty well as well. So I think overall VG doing a good job. Just, they need to get this round.
Now the important thing is that they don't reveal too much.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser. Attackers must locate
Just yet.
and defuse the bomb.
So they set up one of these bear traps. Fox will sit on the site for just now, and we'll set up the second one right next to the site. So they're kind of trying to play the smart game here and just either use it as a not just as a way to trap one of the players, but to at least funnel them and control the flow of the attackers as they break into the site.
Especially in regards to windows and doors. That's where it really becomes a big deal. ZZ trying to hold the CCTV, something we've seen, unfortunately, him lose pretty much every time he's tried to hold it. Usually the smoke goes first, so we'll see if Breezy and ZZ can live very long, because those are always the first two to go on this particular attack, as the last two times that VG has attacked this. So hopefully they're going to play it smarter.
Now you see me, now you
Alright, well, Chief's still sitting behind that mirror wall. Not going to find anybody just yet. ZZ holding down CCTV. Fox A will exchange positions and set himself up yet again. Now, Frost is not the best operator you can have when you'll be playing these close-up fights.
I want to make it clear, though, that SMG is a little underrated.
That is the 9mm Swedish, I believe.
Yeah, it's a fun one. See if Fox can use it. It just has like a really good recoil control on it. He's going to get droned out, though, so they know he's playing there. But an interesting spot to be playing. You don't usually see people playing near that doorway like that because of the risk of being flanked. But they aren't trying to flank from your stairwell, so it's working out for him.
Oh, taking way too much damage there, Fox.
He's just trying to delay, but his drones are just kind of probably unnerving him.
He kind of has to stay in this position now, doesn't he? But the Habana has been dropped, swerving.
Oh, someone did get bear trapped.
Yep.
Like,
Finally working for him.
So Fox is doing a fantastic job this round between holding them off and literally bear trapping them as he tried to go into that flank. I think it was smart.
Way too close, but will get down himself.
Now they can potentially get their teammate up in the bear trap, so Swerven could make this work. Maybe even get his revenge against Fox. They haven't pushed in just yet, and there we go. Got us backing them up. Can save this, but there's a kill from a cheat on ZZ. There's that ZZ kill at the beginning I was talking about.
Got a second one, and Powerful again with a second kill on a Swerven. Gets the headshot with the last bullet in the magazine. Taking down their Morris. No more Thermite, no more Habana and Blackbeard. They see Chief getting into a better position, but that crossfire is so nasty as he sets into the desk room. Even Breezy coming around. There's 3 players looking out for him. Not an easy spot to go in. A shotgun too slow on the switch. The Chief will get the kill. He's going to get spotted out just a bit here. Powerful. Fighting in with the Mira. Famas comes right in with the Twitch. Will get shot down now. Too low on HP. C4 comes out, but Achieved will be able to get 1v2. But Achieved has so little HP. No more time remaining. And we will see Team Reckless picking up the round.
Match point now, and this is match point, because this is the situation where they can move on to the finals.
That's what we were talking about before. See, Intero is fairly excited as well as he comes in to say a quick hello. But so, you know what? This has
been a good match, though.
This has been a pretty darn good match.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'd like to see it to go to map 3, but I always feel that way. So,
always
not
excited
looking
for
like
more Siege.
It's my job to be excited for Siege Unite.
Yes,
am indeed.
Best job on the planet, that's for sure. And especially since we have this whole week.
I know this is just the start of this.
We don't end until Friday, so this is going to be fantastic. This is Super Week, basically.
No more
fantastic week.
Well, we'll see which one of these guys, though, is going to be playing tomorrow, because we know it's going to be Era, and right now it's on the verge of being Reckless, going from Challenger League for their chance to go straight to LAN, skipping Pro League, and that is the dream of Challenger League teams, right? Because you know, as a Challenger League team, you've got to win Challenger League to get into Pro League through relegations to actually have a chance at LAN normally.
It's a slugfest to get all
This is their once-a-year chance to skip over and get to a LAN. So they've really got to capitalize on this. This is for, I mean, either way, one of the Challenger League teams is going to go forward. The question is, can one of them really push that last inch tomorrow to make it count? But so far, VG they had done so well at the beginning of this, and now they're really starting to lose their momentum. I hope they're not tilted yet, because this is, this is the grand deciding match map point for them.
Yeah, obviously, Reckless have taken that first map on Chalet, but when you get this far, and because they've had so much momentum after winning their previous game, basically versus Rogue, just a couple of hours before the start of this game.
Either way, they're not going to be an underestimated team anymore.
That is for sure. That's already been basically just hammered in for everybody. Well, I hope it is for most Pro League teams to say, hey, we should probably not underestimate.
If not, Fox has got the hammer to hammer it in himself. He's doing
Very well seen, Devin. Very well seen. But Fox is going to go all the way back up, and
Grenade
Grenade's going to get cooked. And I think this could possibly get the kill on the bandit.
Nope.
Oh, here we go.
Twice in a row, Remorse. Come on, buddy.
Oh my God.
Unfortunate. He just did it later in the round.
Oh.
I wish we could do a post-interview with these two and be like, so how did you two feel about that grenade play on the roof? Because that's the two we talked to earlier.
God.
Amazing. Well played, Fox, though.
Oh, second grenade landing right next to Crazy. Getting a bit of damage done onto him, but won't be able to get the kill thus far. Bandit will get the kill on Foxy's drone.
Foxy's got that Claymore in that window. Last time, remember when he used it as that bait? I don't think they're going to fall for it a second time, but I like that he still got it there just in case.
All right, runs right on in. See Chief just in from below. They need to rely on him basically for that C4 to be played, but here we go. Cabana, and it's going to go for the bandit trick.
Oh, bandit trick the wrong thing.
Oh, nice. That is beautiful use of the pellets to trick the bandit.
Yep. Yeah, tricking the bandit trick.
Tricking the bandit. Here we go.
There's
1v1. Goddess gets the kill. Foxy with one more on a swerve, and
5v2.
Nifty left alive gets taken down. Achieved last alive for the 5v1. What can he do in this situation?
Ace clutch.
He doesn't even have a C4. He only has barbed wire.
He's got to
in position. Foxy will get the kill, and here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 5-3. Team Reckless will win out map number 2 Border after taking Chalet as well. Map number 1 makes it a 2-0, and they are now in the finals that will be played tomorrow versus Era.
Fox getting that shot at his old team. He's gonna try and make him pay for the change, but nonetheless, that should be a very exciting matchup tomorrow.
11-4. Honestly,
he came alive that round.
Zizi played extremely well.
Oh, he's still
Chalet,
second.
But still,
yeah,
like a total of 20 kills for ZZ in 2 maps.
I think ZZ could have caught up to Fox, except for he was dying at the beginning of his defense rounds. That's where he was losing those frags.
And then you see him on the attack, and it's like, oh, he's just playing.
He just needs to learn how to defend CCTV better, I guess. That's all it comes down to. But nonetheless, some fantastic moments in that game. A fantastic game overall.
Grenades overall have been absolutely fantastic. Like you can make an entire 10-minute compilation of just the grenades.
Yeah, maybe we'll see one. But nonetheless, that was. I don't know. I'm very excited to see such a great match leading into this from a bracket that's just been full of upsets, full of unexpected outcomes. And I mean, I guess going after what they did with the Rogue earlier, it's not as unexpected an outcome to see them come off that. It reminds me of the Patacalypso one against B Genius, right? Because it was them against a top tier team winning and then continuing to win after that. And that shows it wasn't a one-off fluke. They didn't just catch them on a bad day. It was a case of they just simply outplayed them. In this case, I feel like, yes, they did outplay them, but you see some of these fantastic plays from both teams, especially
the grenades.
There's right down the chimney with Cheer. Good old Fox A. Oh, almost looked like he went to go for a second one just in case. But overall, so just fantastic plays. We saw some great plays from Crazy, but I feel like we didn't see Crazy's full potential that round. Some great kills from the Thermite as well.
I think the support for the team around him was just not there.
Yeah.
On a few of the rounds, especially on that defense, on those defense rounds.
There's ZZ with some good plays as well, though. And Breezy as well. When they played downstairs, they definitely had it together. It was upstairs where Breezy and ZZ really struggled.
Now, one of the spots is this round where the hallway was completely exposed, yet still we saw the attackers trying to push it every time, and they lost 3 players in that kind of play.
Yeah. Some great plays by Powerful, too. I feel like we probably didn't mention him enough. He had some good plays. There's Fox with a twofer, or second round run.
Honestly, these are just obviously the highlights from our second map. We already went through the first one, and there were quite a few grenades. I'm always excited about these kinds of plays because it takes a lot of game knowledge and positioning knowledge to know exactly when you should be throwing out. Because if you droned in, you see how the setup has been done by the defense. Then you can basically time it, just looking at the timer and realizing, okay, at this time they will probably be in this position. But all that aside, let's take a quick look at the bracket so you guys can be updated on all that happened tonight. So both semifinals have been played. Ronin Esports losing out against Era in the semifinal with Team Reckless versus VG ending up in a 2-0 as well for Reckless. Highly recommend rewatching both, but especially your second semifinal, which means all partners in crime are going to be facing off in the final for NA tomorrow with Era versus Team Reckless to decide who makes it to the Invitational.
And now with a chance for Reckless to potentially go to LAN, I want to make a small correction. I think earlier I might have implied that Fox didn't have LAN experience, but I want to correct that. He did go to LAN previously, so he is going to bring that LAN experience if they make it there. The rest of the team is the one that doesn't, so I think I might have implied that incorrectly earlier on, so I just want to clear that up because there is that potential. Either way, though, both of them, Era's gone to LAN and Fox has gone to LAN, so either way, one of them going to be returning this time to Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, having Era as the brand itself coming back to the Invitational from last year
with K9 back in store
would be great, obviously, but seeing a Challenger League team in there would be fantastic as well, because we've talked about this multiple times. Never underestimate your opponent, and especially now in NA and even in EU, this has been shown.
The biggest lesson this season.
Yes. Maybe we'll see more of these changes in Pro League for the year 3 start.
I imagine Invitational is going to have just as many surprises.
All right, well, let's end it here. A bye-bye from our producer, and a bye-bye from us. Well, thank you very much for watching. It's been Milosh, of course, Emzo, and from Kix and Intero as well, saying a good night. We'll see you tomorrow for the final game for NA. Good night.